Calgary, Channel 9, Cable 6.
For the first time since 1972, the Eastern champion will be determined by a two-game total point series. Game 1 last Sunday at Iverwin Stadium in Hamilton, and the Ticats looked sharp the second time they had the ball. Mike Kerrigan marched them 100 yards in 10 plays, climaxed by this touchdown pass to Tony Champion. However, interceptions proved to be the Ticat undoing. Kerrigan had problems picking out his receivers. This pass intercepted by Darryl Moyer, and he returned it 32 yards, setting the stage late in the second quarter for a 24-yard touchdown run by J.C. Watts. The ex-Ottawa quarterback caused problems for the Hamilton defense all afternoon as he ran for 66 yards. Ken Hobart took over from Mike Kerrigan. He didn't have much more success throwing the ball. Darryl Moyer picked off this throw, his third of the ball game. And that set up another touchdown run by J.C. Watts from 1 yard out. That put the Toronto Argonauts into the lead. But it was turnovers, much to the dismay of head coach Al Bruno, that proved to be the Ticats' undoing. And as a result, they face a 14-point deficit heading into Game 2 of this total point Eastern Final this afternoon at CNE Stadium in Toronto.
The following is a live presentation of CBC Sports. The best of Canadian professional football, the CFL on CBC. Welcome to Carling O'Keefe CFL football. And now, for all the action, let's join our CBC commentary team.
Toronto's largest football crowd of the season has gathered at CNE Stadium in anticipation of the Argos winning the Eastern Division Championship. Hi everyone, I'm Don Whitman, and with a 14-point lead, the Toronto Argonauts definitely have to be favored to advance to next Sunday's Grey Cup game. But Chuck Ely played in a total point affair in 1972, and while 14 points is a big edge, it's not insurmountable.
Don, you're right there. It's not an insurmountable lead as far as 14 points. We were down 12, and we knew that we had a chance to come back and win a game and be in a Grey Cup if we played good the next week.
And you won that game, that total point affair with Ottawa, by a margin of 30-27. Let's talk about the Toronto Argonauts. Who are the keys to the Argonauts holding that 14-point edge?
Well, I think there are two keys as far as the Argonauts are concerned. One on offense, especially J.C. Watts, the man that they got earlier from a release from Ottawa Rough Riders. J.C. comes into the game offering a lot of running ability and scrambling ability, which will buy him a lot of time. Not only can he pick up first downs and run the ball into the end zone, but as a scrambling type of quarterback, which he is, he buys himself a little extra time on the drop back passing. JC can throw the ball with good consistency if he gets time, and he has to have the time, and he buys that time with the scrambling ability.
And defensively, they're certainly happy to have Willie Pless back in uniform.
Definitely. Willie Pless at 5'10", 210 pounds is not very big, but he's aggressive. He's the leader on that field as far as big plays are concerned with his interceptions and fumble recoveries. Not only that, he's the spiritual and emotional leader because things happen with him, he makes the rest of that defense play well.
31-17 was the score last week, 14 points. When you talk about comebacks, Ron Lancaster was involved in one in 1963, 26 points in a semifinal series with Calgary.
Yeah, Don, when you look on that, 26 points in any football game, I consider it a fluke, and we were very lucky, but it does show you that any lead can be overcome.
Okay, how will the Hamilton Tiger Cats attempt to overcome that lead?
Well, they've got to do it offensively to begin with, Don. Last week in the game against Toronto, they only had 79 yards of offense and 2 first downs in the second half, and that's definitely not going to win you many games. I think, talking to Mike Kerrigan, they have got to stay with the game plan. Don't rush it. Let things happen. Don't turn it over. As Don said in the opening, interceptions killed them. But if they will come out with a consistent game plan, move the football, take the sacks if you have to, but they've got to generate the offense. If they can get the offense rolling, it can keep their defense off the field. Kerrigan can throw the football, but if these guys on the other side of the ball don't contain J.C. Watts, they can make it a long afternoon. So what they've got to do is, I really believe today we're going to see 5 people rushing at J.C. Watts and not the 4, because 4 leaves too many alleys for J.C. Watts. They've got to get pressure on him in order to beat the Toronto Argonauts, and I think if they get it going early, 14 points is nothing.
Well, 14 points has been the topic that everyone has been talking about all week. Steve Armitage has joined us on the sidelines, and we'll hear a little more about that 14-point deficit with Coach Al Bruno.
Don, it's been suggested that a 14-point deficit in a two-game total point series might be too much to overcome. I've got a gentleman with me now who will disagree with that. Al Bruno, the head coach of the Hamilton Ticats. You're down 14 points. Will there be a tendency to play catch-up football right away?
Definitely not. We're going to play the same type of football game we played last week, Steve. Try to move the ball down the field and score first like we did last week. If we can do that, hey, we're back in the ball game.
J.C. Watts was your nemesis in Game 1. Is he the key to stopping the Argos?
J.C. Watts is a heck of an athlete. He certainly has to be a key for the Toronto attack with his scrambling. And so if we can contain him and keep him under wraps and stop their offense, we have a good chance of winning.
Al, good luck this afternoon.
Thank you very much.
Al Bruno, the head coach of the Hamilton Ticats. Don, back to you.
And on a beautiful sunny afternoon at CNE Stadium, the Argos and Ticats are just about set to kick it off. But first, let's go to CFL Control and Brian Williams.
Thank you, Don. Hi again, everybody. Welcome to CFL Control in Toronto, the Eastern Final. You know, when you talk about two-game total point series, there's a great tradition between Hamilton and Toronto. Right now, let's take you back to 1971. The last time these teams met in a two-game total point Eastern Final, Toronto won it by 15 for the two games. Joe Theismann out of Notre Dame to his great tight end Mel Prophet. Hey, these were in the days prior to artificial turf at Exhibition Stadium. Toronto would lose the Grey Cup to the Calgary Stampeders on the McQuay fumble. Bit of a surprise. Toronto has won 4 of the last 5 playoff meetings. Doesn't take into account some of the earlier ones. I remember 61 when they blew the 18-point lead. The games this season, the Argos won the first 2. The Ticats, the third meeting at Ivor-Wynne Stadium. Coming up at halftime, we will preview the Western Final coming up later today. BC and the Edmonton Eskimos. Gord Miller is standing by at Commonwealth Stadium. And we'll have a special report on yesterday's Vanier Cup great football game between UBC and Western. Stay with us. The Eastern Final, the CFL and CBC, will continue right after this. Players was injured. Steve, what's the word on John Malinowski?
Don, the story is simply this. In the pregame warm-up, Malinowski apparently bruised his knee. The Hamilton Ticats then wanted to make a change. They went to the Argos, and the Argos said, no, it's too late. You cannot make the change, so Malinowski has to stay in the ballgame.
All right, Steve. And Steve, of course, will be on the sidelines this afternoon and will also be on the sidelines with us at Grey Cup 86 under the Dome in Vancouver next Sunday. And we hope you'll be with us for Grey Cup game 86 on CBC television. But first and foremost, the Eastern champion has to be decided today. Later this afternoon, the Western champion in that battle at Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton between the Eskimos and the BC Lions. The Toronto Argonauts, Hank Alissa, preparing to kick off to the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Deep to receive are Les Brown and Howard Fields. Les Brown, number 15, returning to the lineup after missing last Sunday's game at Ivor-Wynne Stadium. Game 2 of this total point affair is underway. Les Brown takes the ball at the 15-yard line. And he is down at the 30. So under the direction of Mike Carrigan, the Ticats will scrimmage from their own 30-yard line.
Well, the Hamilton offense, Walter Bender gets the opportunity to play. Ken Zachary was injured last week. Walter Bender is looking forward to this, talking to him yesterday at practice. Receivers Ron Ingram, talking to him at practice, he said he thought they forgot him, but he's in there today, and Tony Champion moves in because of an injury to Wayne Lee. And the offensive line, with John Malinowski out of there, that's going to create some problem. Ralph Scholes will go to right tackle, and Brady will come in and play at the right guard position. But I don't disagree with the Argonauts not allowing them to change people. You got to play today.
Well, the Hamilton Tiger Cats could have another major problem. Les Brown, activated for this game after missing last week's opener of this total point affair, was hurt on the kickoff return. This would be a major blow to the Ticats if he is unable to play that corner, because he has been a key figure in that Hamilton secondary all season.
Well, he's come off to the game where he's already been injured. He's kind of wondering why he's back on the kickoff return in the position. It looked like as though when he came down off the field that he just twisted his knee again. So that's going to be a big blow to them if they lose Les Brown in that cornerback position.
Well, we see him running. It didn't seem to where he got hit.
Right there.
Right away.
Right there. He's reaching for the hamstring, the back of his knee. He went down, and Les Brown could be out for the balance of this ball game, although trainer Ray Jones is out on the field assisting him to his feet. But if he is having problems with that knee and with that hamstring, he is going to be a definite handicap for the Ticats on the corner. But as you said, Ron, he wasn't hit, he wasn't hurt there.
It looked as though just the way he planned it, Don, that he just twisted that knee once more. And so we'll have to see what that's going to do to the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
I don't blame Al for scratching his head. To get a tackle injured in pregame warm-up and Les Brown to go down without being hit, you have to wonder a little bit.
Well, Pat Brady has gone into the guard position. Ralph Schultz has moved over to tackle. 1st and 10. John Malinowski is out of the lineup from the 30-yard line. Sideline pattern complete to Steve Stapler. He takes it out of bounds for a gain of 7. It will be 2nd and 3.
When you talk about that Argonaut defense, Rodney Hartney leads the team with 10 sacks, and they've got to have good pressure on Kerrigan this afternoon. And back in that lineup is Willie Pless. That linebacker from the outside is the guy that they want to count on. And in the deep secondary, you got Daryl Moyer, who comes off of 3 interceptions last week.
2nd and 3. Walter Bender made contact at the line of scrimmage, bounced to the outside. He'll get the first down. He runs it out to the 51-yard line, forced out by the safety, Daryl Moyer.
One of the things John Salvanis, the offensive line coach, was telling me at practice the other day, they've got to get some plays for Bender to go on a slant. They don't want him running straight ahead because he's not that big and they'll beat him up. This works out ideal. He can't get through, and it gets him outside where he likes to run anyway, and he's got good speed. So if they could do that all day, they'd be happy.
Walter Bender initially bounced off Gerald Bayless. He gets a first down. A run of 15 yards. It's 1st and 10. The pass complete to Tony Champion, and Champion has a pickup of about 6 or 7, brought down by Cliff Hewitt. Now they have moved Champion into that slot back position, replacing Wayne Lee, and Ron Ingram, who has been out of the lineup for quite some time, moves to the wide receiver spot, replacing Champion. So with Stapler and Ingram wide and Champion and DiPietro at those slot back positions, they've got a solid core of receivers.
Well, the big thing it does, it gets some speed inside, and that'll make DiPietro more effective.
Hand off to Jet Tommy, but he's going to be stopped at the 50, short of the first down by Gerald Bayless.
And now another lineman is hurt. Brady's down a little bit for Hamilton, having a little trouble getting up. You know, they don't have any more. That's all they've got.
Well, earlier in the game, when you lose both of your offensive linemen to injury, your backup guy to Malinowski, then you're going to have problems. So now they're going to have to probably go with the defensive line and get somebody off of that to help on the offensive line.
Well, you see Brady coming out to block Willie Pless. Looks like he got bent over the pile. Pless bent him backwards with his foot caught in the ground, and he got the knee bent back underneath him. So it's going to make it tough. Malinowski's going into the ball game now on this 3rd down punt, but one of them's got to go.
Well, Pat Brady, a graduate of the University of Western Ontario. Of course, he was cheering yesterday at Varsity Stadium for his alma mater, the University of Western Ontario Mustangs, but unfortunately they had that very exciting final 2nd touchdown drive engineered against them as the University of British Columbia Thunderbirds captured the Vanier Cup. And a number of players from both UBC and Western Ontario playing for the Argos and the Ticats, and they were cheering in different factions yesterday for their respective former teams. Well, let's go down to the sidelines now and bring in Steve Armitage.
Don, they're putting some ice on the left knee of Les Brown. It is not the hamstring. It is a knee injury. It appears to be on the left side of the left knee. Brown is in a lot of pain. I don't think he'll be back in this ballgame.
Well, Les Brown replaced Jim Rockford, who was inserted into the lineup last week for that first of the total point affair at Iverwin Stadium in Hamilton. Chris Woods is back for this third down punt by Paul Osbaldiston. Just one man back, so they will send an 11-man rush after the young punter. He got the kick away. Taken on the run by Chris Woods. He found an opening with that speed. A penalty flag is down. Chris Woods forced out of bounds by Paul Osbaldiston. Penalty flag way downfield. I think it will be a no yards call against Hamilton, so that 49-yard romp by Chris Woods will most likely stand.
Well, one of the big keys that Al Bruno was concerned about was the kicking game. Last week they got beaten in that kicking game, and especially teams can play a big factor in this afternoon's game.
No yards, Hamilton 72.
Well, that's what Chris Woods does for you. He is so dangerous when he gets his hands on the football that when he got it on the dead run, those guys that were caught in the no-yard zone are going to make an attempt to get out of there. So when they stop, he's going to go right between them. There'll be no factor. And once he gets into the open field, Osbaldiston was lucky to get to him. Ken Hobart was the last guy. But that is a great way to start a football game if you're an Argonaut fan.
That 49-yard return by Christopher Woods places an imposition on that Hamilton Tiger Cat defense early in the ball game. 1st and 10 from the 45. The handoff to William Miller. Miller to the outside. He has a first down. Out of bounds at the 34-yard line, forced out by Terry Lenny.
It's a good way to start for the Toronto Argonauts. They want to establish some of that running game, and that's another way that J.C. Watts can get some of the heat off his back and get some of the pressure, get that running game going earlier in the game.
William Miller, a former Rookie of the Year in the Canadian Football League and Shenley Award winner with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. He's replacing Cedric Minter. Bob Obilovich made that decision following Game 1 last Sunday afternoon. And Miller responds with a run of 11 yards. That hit screen, they tried to go to Keith Baker, and Grover Covington, playing that defensive end position, came over to cover.
Well, that's a favorite play of the Argonauts. It's a safe place to throw. It's a good, ideal first down play. They threw 10 of them last week in that game against the Ticats over in Iverwin. 10 times they went to that outside screen, so they like it. They're going to see some more of it.
Well, the Argos attempt to take advantage of the fact that Howard Fields has been forced to the corner. Terry Lenny goes inside.
Yeah, they're going to force him to play a lot of zone. I don't think they'll be. And Hamilton likes to play man, but you can't do it when you don't have your best in there.
J.C. Watts on second down. The screen to William Miller. He got a block from Kersinger. He'll get the first down.
Well, Chuck talks about getting the pressure off of you. You can throw those screens and get the running game going. You won't get much pressure all day. If we take a look here, coming from the wide to the other side of the field, coming across will be number 74, Darrell Smith. Now, Watts gets the screen back to Miller. If Kersinger and Darrell Smith would have made these two blocks, he would have been off to the races again. They didn't get the block on him, and it allowed him to come up and make the hit. But that's a good way to start. A good run, good screen.
And first down, much to the delight of the crowd at C&E Stadium. So William Miller, very early in this ball game, has made his presence felt, and there was some concern on the part of the Argos after they had activated him for this game. Yesterday's practice session, he left feeling ill.
There's been a lot of that flu going around on both sides. Both teams got a lot of guys hurting from it, but on a game like today, you expect them all to be there.
From the 24, 1st and 10, Toronto. William Miller inside to the 20-yard line.
Well, the big key to the game was going to be who was going to score first, and I was in the Toronto Argonaut dressing room before the game, and those guys thought that they would try to come down and establish something and get into the end zone first and put a lot more pressure on that Hamilton Tiger Cat team.
Conrad Holloway signaling plays to J.C. Watts, the starting quarterback. Conrad, of course, was expected to be the key performer at that signal calling position in the playoffs, but JC came on very strong late in the season, and Coach Bob Obilovich decided to go with him in the playoffs. Touchdown! Keith Baker! a team that is hurting physically. That touchdown by Keith Baker on the throw from J.C. Watts could have a very demoralizing effect on the Hamilton Tiger Cats. The point after by Lance Chomik, and the Toronto Argonauts lead this total point Eastern Final by 21. We'll be back with the Toronto kickoff after this.
Joe here.
Stay with CBC Sports for all the excitement of Grey Cup 86. Saturday, November 29th, we'll have the parade live from Vancouver. I'll be in Vancouver as we anchor Sports Weekend live from under the dome. Then, of course, Sunday afternoon, November 30th, it is Grey Cup 86. We will have a special 90-minute pregame show followed by the game itself. As usual, for the best in sports, the best in Canadian football, CBC Sports is the place to be.
Well, J.C. Watts just drops back into the pocket, makes his read. You know that Hamilton's in his own defense, and Baker just runs a post pattern, and J.C. hits him right on the numbers for the touchdown.
Well, you talk about football being a game of inches. If you saw on the rush, Grover Covington was about a half a step away from J.C. Watts when he got rid of the football, but he got rid of it, and he found the guy he wanted, so that's a great start for the Argonauts.
Walter Bender and Howard Fields are back on the kickoff return. Fields takes it, and Fields doesn't get any further than the 25-yard line. Gerald Bayless was downfield to make the tackle.
Well, I'll take one more look at it. There's Keith Baker accepting congratulations from his teammates, and well, he should. A well-run pattern. If you look coming from the left side, number 77 just gets there a little bit too late. Ball's thrown out in front. Shields made a great attempt to get there, but he got the step on him, and that's all you want. You want 6 points? Nothing to it.
Keith Baker signing as a free agent with the Argos on September 27th has them in a 21-point lead. The pass is complete to Rocky DiPietro. He'll be close to a first down, forced out by Cliff Hewitt.
The one thing about the Toronto Argonauts, what they did when they moved that drive, that not only did they score, but they were able to keep the drive going and use some time off the clock.
What they do is they got number 90, Marlon Jones, lines up here, and then he'll come to the outside on any sprint out. Reason, he is the contain man. That's what he does. He starts out at linebacker position. He's got to contain Kerrigan, get wide. He wants outside, force Kerrigan to pull up.
A first down on the pass completion to Rocky DiPietro. This is Walter Bender trying to get outside, and he'll have 7 more. So the Ticats are looking at 2nd and 3, and again, let's bring in Steve Armitage on the sidelines.
Don, it never rains when it pours for the Hamilton Ticats. Another injury report. Number 61, Mike Walker, has taken a knock on the front of his knee. It does not appear as serious as Les Brown, but he's got some ice on it now. He'll be out for a couple of plays.
Well, that would definitely be a major blow to the Ticats because they rely on that front 4 to exert pressure on the opposition quarterback.
That's the strength of that defense. That's why they can play a lot of combination defenses, because they get great pressure from that front 4. And Mike Walker got that injury on that play where William Miller cut back inside on him. You saw him go down.
Bayless is out, Rashovich in for the Toronto Argonauts defensively. The handoff to Walter Bender, he'll get the first down. Don Moen, the linebacker, came up to make the tackle. In the words of Bob Obilovich, Don Moen, he feels is the most underrated linebacker in the entire league.
Well, he was second on their team in tackles, and that's good. He was their leader last week with 9 tackles. Talking with him in the locker room before, he was awful happy about that UBC win yesterday. What a great football game that was.
You think there was a little needling going on between those ex-Western Ontario and UBC players in the locker rooms of the two teams?
I think there was. I think it's great. It was an excellent ball game.
Pass intended for Rocky DiPietro. He was forced out of bounds by Cliff Hewitt. He couldn't hang on to the throw. What a year DiPietro has had. And he'll go up against Joe Poplawski of Winnipeg for the Shenley Award as the outstanding Canadian.
Well, Rocky's caught 86 passes during the regular season, and he's been a big part of that Hamilton Tiger Cat offense, and he plays well from the inside.
Cliff Hewitt came up to make the tackle, jarring the ball away from DiPietro, and Hewitt was hurt on the play.
If you can arrive as a defensive back, just at the time that receiver gets those hands on the ball and hit him from the back, you'll knock it out of there about 9 times out of 10. That's why receivers are taught, get the hands on the ball and get it into the body in a hurry. But the defensive back did what he has to do. Hit him as hard as you can, make him cough it up.
And the problem with some of those receivers is they allow the ball to hit into their body at the same time as the hit, rather than extending their arms away from their body to catch the ball.
Grant Donahue comes into the ball game, replacing Cliff Hewitt. Donahue Grant, let me correct that.
It should be the other way, shouldn't it? Seems like it.
Fella has two first names. You're going to confuse them once in a while. Gerald Bayless was hurt 2 plays back. He went to the bench, and the Argos have made an adjustment. They are now in a 3-4 defense with Dan Rashovich in as that 4th linebacker. Kerrigan completing it to Walter Bender. Bender trying to get that first down. He'll be very close. The ball popped away, but the whistle had gone. Bender really stretched out trying to get that first down. And, of course, he wants to play well this afternoon as he is an ex-Argo.
What they try to do is they're just flooding one side of the field. They just take 2 receivers up and hook them inside and then try to get the read off of Grant. They got it, and they forced him to throw the ball outside. What they want to do, they're going to run a hook, and then they bring him out, and the key is the man that's covering the flat. He has to come up to make the tackle. In this case, Donahue Grant. Watch it. He drops. He stays with the wide receiver. You have to throw it underneath. Kerrigan read that, hits Bender with the football. He read the right man, makes the completion.
In game 1 last week, the Toronto Argonauts were really dropping their linebackers much deeper than normal.
Well, the Hamilton Tiger-Cats like to throw into those short zone areas, and so by dropping those linebackers, they felt that they could cover those areas to Rocky DiPietro and Wayne Lee in this case of last week, and they did a good job at it.
That's the knee of Gerald Bayless with an ice pack now, so injuries have certainly hit both teams hard early in this ball game. Walter Bender coming out of the backfield, and Walter Bender tried to get outside. He stopped after a gain of 9 by Cliff Hewitt. And I think we'll see the Ticats employ those backs as receivers a lot more today.
Well, one, they got the speed now at those receivers to clear the areas out. You just mentioned, and Chuck mentioned about the linebackers dropping deep. If they're going to drop deep, you better throw it underneath or you're going to get in interception trouble. And as long as they take what they give them, they got a chance.
This is a different Mike Kerrigan we're seeing this afternoon than the man who quarterbacked the Ticats last Sunday, by his own admission, his worst game of the season. Kerrigan, a quarterback sneak for a first down to the 40-yard line of the Toronto Argonauts. I said that we would probably see Hamilton try and use those backs underneath a lot more this afternoon as pass receivers. That will be the Hamilton tactic as long as they can stick with the game plan. But if they fall too far behind, they'll have to change.
Well, we know that we saw a game last week in the West where they were 21-0, and they were able to get a couple of touchdowns in the last 2 minutes. So you still have a whole game here, basically, to get 3 touchdowns. They're not out of it yet.
21 points is the spread now, and the total point affair is Kerrigan on 1st and 10. Looks to the sidelines, and it's in and out of the arms of Steve Stapler. He was being covered by Cliff Hewitt.
Well, Hewitt did exactly what he had to do. He had Stapler behind him and DiPietro in front of him. So he's just going to hang as deep as he can and say, I'm going to give you the man underneath, but I'm going to get back to take it away from Stapler. He didn't really get it. He got his hand up, which caused the drop it. But really, DiPietro and Stapler were only about 4 yards apart. Take a look at where the ball's knocked down. There you see DiPietro. He tried to go to the wrong. Take the guy that's open. In that case, it should have been DiPietro.
2nd and 10. The ball just nudging the 40 of the Toronto Argonauts. They lead this game 7-0. The series 38-17. In and out of the hands of Tony Champion. He went high. He may have jumped just a little prematurely in reaching for that Kerrigan throw, and it went off his fingertips.
Well, those are the type of receptions you've got to come up with right now. They're driving and trying to get some points on the board, and anything to hit those receivers' hands in that situation, come up.
Here's what they're talking about. DiPietro will come under to try to hold them, and then they want to bring Champion right in behind him. But you see what happens. The ball's a little bit thrown. There goes DiPietro underneath the linebackers. That'll hold him up. Now they try to come in behind it with Tony Champion. The ball's a little bit behind him. Probably was catchable, though.
Well, Paul Osbaldiston will try and put the Ticats on the board. A field goal attempt. It's long enough. It's good. A 47-yard field goal by Paul Osbaldiston. And it's now a 38-17 differential. Well, it's a 17-point differential, 38-20 the score. This afternoon it's 7-3. But we're going to be providing you with a total score, a series score between the Argos and the Ticats in this new format introduced this year to the Canadian Football League. And the kickoff is going to be taken by Dwight Edwards. He has plenty of speed, and he utilizes that speed to bring it all the way back to the 53-yard line.
Well, JC and them gets to come out again and start off in good field position. That time was a kickoff return. Last time was a punt return. If their offense can get something generated now, keep that Hamilton defense on the field, then it'll be an advantage for the Toronto Argonauts.
This reminds you of what Bob Obilovich said early in the season. They weren't high in the ratings in offense or defense, but their special teams were number one. And so far today, that's exactly what we've seen.
First and 10 from the 53-yard line. William Miller takes the handoff. Mike Walker back out there for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and he and Ben Zambiazzi came over to make the tackle. We talked about the injury problems with the Ticats. The Argos have one of their own, Gerald Bayless, you saw earlier, suffer that knee injury, and word from the bench is that he will not be back for the rest of the game.
Well, that's tough. He's an awful quick defensive lineman. He's been a big plus for him since he arrived on the scene.
Second and 5, Toronto. Incomplete, intended for Warren Hudson. The Argos will be forced to punt.
Well, that time Warren Hudson came out of the backfield. JC got a blitz by Frank Robinson on his left, and he tried to hit in that area, but unfortunately Hudson couldn't come up with the grab.
I was surprised to see both Darrell Smith and Warren Hudson in the same place. They had two receivers. I thought he was throwing to Darrell Smith, and all of a sudden Hudson reached up to try to pull it down. Somebody got to go a little wider.
Hank Olisic provided the Argos with an amazing edge last week. His punting, plus the returns by the Argos, provided Toronto with a 13-point differential each time the ball was exchanged on a kick. And again, Olisic unloads a big one through the end zone. A 52-yard single point for Hank Olisic.
Well, that's the effectiveness of the Toronto Argonaut kicking game versus that of the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Paul Osbaldiston cannot punt that well, or doesn't punt that well, and has been used that way. Stapler was punting last week, and he had problems. Now you come up with Hank Olisic kicking a point, getting a point, and every point counts right now.
Every time we've seen the Argonauts play this year, the coach and the other teams that we've talked with has said the thing that they fear is Olisic's kicking. He gets them out of so many holes, and he gets them good field position. And boy, that is a big plus when you're in the championship games.
39-20 now, the Argos leading in the total point overall series. Sideline pattern for Ingram, and Ingram is hit as soon as he grabs the throw up at the 40-yard line by Kerry Parker. A dejected Gerald Bayless on the Argonaut bench, although he does manage a smile for our cameraman with an ice pack on his knee, and I'm sure he's thinking beyond this game to next Sunday at the Dome in Vancouver.
Boy, he should be. The guy has had a heck of a year. He's from southern Mississippi, and he's in a rookie year. He's 245 pounds, but he's quick.
Second and 5. Sideline pattern to Steve Stapler. He is going to be just shy, it would appear, of a first down.
Well, when you're in those situations, you've got to be able to come up with that first down, especially in that part of the field. You want to be able to run that out pattern where you get past that first down marker. If you have to come back to the ball, you come back where you're still going to be at the first down yardage.
Well, they're only about a half a yard short. They've got to go get this one. It might only be a couple inches. They've got to get to the line.
They have to get just across the 45-yard line. Mike Kerrigan will undoubtedly keep, and he'll get the first down. I'm not so sure that's the right play, though, because that defensive back who had moved up, had he made contact with Kerrigan right at the line of scrimmage, he might have driven him back.
The ideal thing is to get in behind one of those big linemen, and if they get off the ball good, you get in behind him, you can get that yard. That time he took a little gamble, went a little bit outside.
First and 10 on the 47.
However, he does have the first down at the 47-yard line. The pitch to Walter Bender. He cuts it back inside. Fires the ball. Toronto has got it. Rodney Harding came up with the football. So a big break for the Argos. They take over again in Hamilton territory. This year's Carling O'Keefe Sports Game Stars in the Grey Cup will each receive a 36-inch Sony Videoscope television valued at over $4,500, presented by Remington, makers of the 3M surgical clippers for hospitals and the microscreen rechargeable for you at home. Advanced shaving technology only from Remington. Well, the outstanding players will receive those 36-inch Sonys. I don't know what you'll be watching the Grey Cup game on at home, but we hope you'll be joining us on CBC television for Grey Cup 86, all of the excitement of the week. The pass intended for William Miller, trying to set up the screen, and Leo Ezerans, who is playing a little wider and outside of that linebacking position, managed to tip it away.
Well, they decided they've got to go get J.C. Watts. They blitzed both linebackers at him, and he got able to get the hand on the ball, and Paul Bennett played the way he had to. He's got the next guy coming out of the backfield. He's got to get up there to cover him, and he did. So that's a big plus for him, but you blitz too many times, you get stung.
Second and 10, Toronto. Throwing deep for Chris Woods. He down at the 5-yard line in front of Lance Shields.
That's just good effort by Chris Woods because he had pretty good coverage on him by Lance Shields. He just shielded Shields away with his body and made the catch. J.C. Watts looks to his right. He's trying to get Paul Bennett to come over here, which he does, and then he comes back the other way to Chris Woods. Now watch him shield him with his body. Jump up, shield him, get the ball in the hands, and hang on. That's a good play.
I think one of the big points earlier in the year, the Toronto Argonauts had 100 sacks on the quarterback. That time they gave J.C. Watts a lot of time to throw the ball.
That's one of the big changes and one of the big improvements with the Argos is the protection they're providing for the quarterback. It's now 1st and goal from inside the 5-yard line. Hand off to William Miller. He won't make it as he stopped right at the goal line by Mike Walker.
Well, when you're down on the 5-yard line, you're in 3-down territory if you want to get it into the end zone. So they just try to run Miller off tackle, but number 61 for Hamilton, who plays the run extremely well, comes from the backside, pulls him down. He gains 1 yard, so they're at the 4.
Well, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers can attest to how difficult it can be in that 3-down zone to get into the end zone. Remember their game last week against the D.C. Lions. J.C. Watts rolling to his left. He'll throw. Touchdown! Darryl Smith was wide open.
Just a beautiful play by J.C. Watts. He drops back and runs what we call a dash pattern, where you look like you're going to stay in the pocket and then roll to one side. He rolled to the left, and when he did that, the pursuit, the way he's been running the last 2 weeks, the defense came up on him and left Smith wide open in the end zone, and J.C. picked him up for the touchdown. As you see, he's just dropping back in the pocket like it's going to be a drop-back pass. He rolls to his left looking for somebody. Now, the way J.C. runs, he's a threat to take it in the end zone, and when he stops and pulls up when the defense goes after him, he finds Smith for the touchdown.
Well, you saw those 4 white jerseys coming up to make the hit on J.C. Watts. And boy, I'll tell you what, as long as the quarterback has the ball in his hands and hasn't crossed the line of scrimmage, you better play pass defense.
The point after by Lance Chomick. And the Toronto Argonauts have totally taken control as they are now in front by 26 points.
I'll tell you what was impressive on this particular play was the blocking, as you mentioned. The main thing that has strengthened this Toronto Argonaut football club was the blocking of their left tackle, Chris Schultz. It's a dash pattern, as Chuck called it, where the quarterback would drop back and roll. He turned Mike Walker to the inside, and that allowed him outside with no problem. Take a look at him right here. Now, the quarterback on a dash means this. You drop straight back, allow these guys to get their angles, and then you roll outside. Now, watch Chris Schultz. Watch how he turns Mike Walker to the inside. All right, JC goes straight back. Now, he gets that outside foot set. There goes Walker. Now, it's up to you to go back and get him. Dan Ferrone helped him, and now he's outside free. Now, watch all the guys coming to get him. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 white jerseys, and that allowed Darryl Smith to stand in the end zone with no one near him. You got to make that quarterback cross that line of scrimmage before you, as a defensive back, leave your man.
Well, that's the threat that J.C. Watts adds, the extra dimension, that running ability. You have to respect his ability to run the football. He did for 66 yards last Sunday.
He's a great athlete. Al Bruno said it right off the top. He's an athlete with a lot of ability, and you've got to shut him down somehow.
Champion and Fields are back for this Hank Olisic kickoff. It bounces to Tony Champion at the 20-yard line. He slips and he goes down at the 29. So on each of the 3 kickoff returns, Kerrigan has had less than ideal field position to work from.
Well, they're putting Kerrigan in a tough spot as far as starting field position, and when the Toronto Argonauts have gotten the ball, they've been in excellent field position to get touchdowns. So Kerrigan has got to come up with some points now. You don't want to change your game plan, but he's got to start throwing that ball up the field and getting more yards so they can get some points on the board.
This should be the final play of the opening quarter, and the Toronto Argonauts have scored 2 touchdowns. Keith Baker and Darrell Smith have been on the receiving end of J.C. Watt's throws. Good protection for Kerrigan over the middle. The pass is complete to Rocky DiPietro out to the 54. Stopped by Cliff Hewitt.
Most of the game they've been playing zone, but that time they came with a man and got caught.
And that is also the end of the first quarter. A 24-yard gain for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. We'll be back with their first down play in the second quarter.
Hamilton Ticats, Paul Bennett. Paul, you out of it?
No, I don't think so. I mean, ever since we were little boys, you never give up in this game. And we're professionals now, and we've come a long way to get here. We're certainly not giving up at this point.
Is there a good feeling on the bench?
Well, it's a little quiet, obviously. We've had so many injuries. John Nelson got hurt in the warm-up. Les Brown, of course, has really hurt us now, and Mike Walker's hurt a little bit. So we got a long way to come back.
What sort of adjustments have you had to make on defense?
None really. We've just playing what we plan on doing, and we're just going to keep on doing it until they keep on beating us more, I guess.
Good luck, Paul.
Thank you.
Back to you, Don.
Well put.
Okay, Steve, first down to start the second quarter for the Ticats. The pitch goes to Walter Bender, and he's going to lose yards. Darrell Wilson was the man who really made the play, although he didn't make the tackle. Dan Rashovich did that, but Wilson took the blocker out of the way.
Well, you hit it exactly right. You can't see him in a picture, but watch him come across, and when Jed Tomey tries to block him to the outside, watch what he does. Don't open the gate. He comes across. Take that blocker on. Darrell Wilson, number 13, says, okay, you're going to get me? I'm going to block you. Now, there's nowhere for your ball carrier to run. We'll make the hit. A lot of times they don't get credit for the tackle, but they make the plays.
Second and 11. The ball is at the 52.5. Quickly inside to DiPietro. Oh, he took a jolt. The ball popped away. Don Moen made the hit, but the whistle had gone. DiPietro stopped short of the first down.
Well, the Toronto Argonaut defensive secondary have decided that they're going to play zone. They're going to bend but not break. They're going to try to give up the short passes in front of them and react back up them and make the hit as Moen just made right there. You want to do that. Let the Hamilton Tiger Cats use up as much time on the clock as possible. Don't let them come to big TD.
He said his corner stayed with him. It was man. Right.
J.C. Watts getting some advice from upstairs as Paul Osbaldiston attempts to angle it out. He kicks it to Chris Woods. Woods, this time covered back at the 15-yard line by Frank Robinson. Only a 36-yard kick by Paul Osbaldiston, but there was no return.
Well, how many times this year have coaches told us they want those punters to kick the ball between the numbers and the sideline? If they do that, they can pin that return man in, and that's exactly what happened to Woods.
You think J.C. Watts is savoring this playoff round after being cut adrift by the Ottawa Roughriders and contemplating quitting football altogether and going back to Oklahoma, where he has some successful investment businesses going his way?
Well, you know what? You got to have confidence in your ability, and it's nice to see a guy get another chance, and he's making the best of it.
William Miller is certainly making the best of his opportunities this afternoon as he fights his way out to about the 23 or 24-yard line.
Well, the last 2 or 3 games that the Toronto Argonauts have played in, their offense has been coming on. Before, J.C. Watts had not had a lot of playing time, and he had not worked with the receivers that he's got working in there now consistently for the last 2 or 3 weeks. The big knock on J.C. was he was not consistent. Now he's showing that consistency right now, the way he's playing, the way he's calling, the way he's throwing the ball.
Second and about 2.5 for the Argos. William Miller won't get it. David Sauvé is there to make the tackle. You talk about determination on the part of a player. David Sauvé exemplifies the word. Sauvé has been out of the lineup for almost a year and a half after suffering a very serious neck injury that threatened to end his career. He worked hard at rehabilitating himself. He kept asking for an opportunity to play, and he finally got it in this Eastern Final.
I'll tell you, that is it's a great story the way it's turned out, and there's a lot of people that feel he should have hung him up and said to heck with it, but I'll tell you, he has worked hard to get back on that football field.
And Galisic's punt, the Ticats came close to blocking it. There's also a penalty flag. Contacting the kicker will be the call against Hamilton almost certainly, as Bennett is upset at the midfield stripe.
Hamilton 72.
Well, you got to take some chances. You got to take some chances, Don, and they decide they're going to block it, and they just didn't make it.
So the Toronto Argonauts will retain possession. Leo Ezerans was guilty of contacting the kicker as he came in trying to block that third down punt by Hank Alisic.
Well, the Tiger Cats have come up with some big plays and some big efforts to try to do that, but his angle was wrong. He has to head for the end of his foot, not right at the player who's kicking the ball. When you do that, your momentum carries into the kicker, and that's why he's got called.
The ideal position to be in is about 3 feet in front of the kicker, isn't it?
About 3 yards, because he's going to take a step or so to kick it. Maybe even 5 yards, but when you get right on top of him, you're going to get him.
Pass complete to Darrell Smith, first down, out of bounds at the 47.
You know, they talk about J.C. Watts. We've said many times he's a better runner than he is a passer, but when you watch him go back on this particular play, goes right back in the pocket, takes that step, and throws it on a line. Now, this is what is good about J.C. Watts. Watch him. Straight back. Now, get those feet set. Take your look, step, and throw it right on the money. See, he's gaining confidence every time he plays for this Argonaut team. He's going to be good. He's learning how to play.
1st and 10. The pitch to William Miller. Leo Ezerans got through the block that time to make the tackle, a loss of about 5.
Leo said he owed him one, Chuck.
Yeah, I just think Leo was reading that, and as he saw the action come to his left, he reacted up to the ball and was in the backfield before William Miller had a chance to turn upfield.
They marked the ball at the 43, so it will be a loss of 4. 2nd and 14, Toronto. They lead this game 15-3. They lead in the playoff round 46-20, the total point series. J.C. Watts is in trouble. He's going to be dropped way back at the 27-yard line by Mike Walker.
Don, that's what we said in the opening. You have got to get the pressure on J.C. Watts. Now, what J.C. Watts did that was very wise, he did not give any ground or try to throw it away. He said, okay, I'm not going to escape. Watch number 77, Grover Covington. Watts thinks he sees a hole. It disappears, and then Mike Walker's there. He said, to heck with it, I'll take my sack and let Hank Alisic kick it.
One of the things that happened to the Tiger Cats thought that to fill up the lane on their right defensive tackle. They felt that J.C. Watts tries to break loose and run to his left, but not outside the defensive end, more towards the lane of the defensive tackle.
Well, that penalty and contacting the kicker doesn't prove all that damaging as the ball is kicked away by Hank Alisic. Paul Bennett fields it. Alisic went down again, but that time he was looking for a judge to make a ruling of an 8 or a 9-point play on that one, but it wasn't forthcoming.
When it's time.
Today's Carling O'Keefe Game Stars will each receive a Royal Canadian Mint 1-ounce gold coin presented by Remington Products, makers of the 3M surgical clippers for hospitals and the microscreen rechargeable for you at home. Advanced shaving technology only from Remington. 46-20 is the score. Bob Obilovich has his Toronto Argonauts in front by 26 in this total point affair. That hit screen to Tony Champion. Champion is brought down. There'll be a penalty flag, a face mask violation, I think against Cliff Hewitt.
I don't think they'll argue about it. It was definitely a face mask.
Face mask, 15, Toronto.
Good play. The Champion gets the ball on a quick screen, and you got to get those blockers out there to make some of that blocking. As you see right there, grabs him by the helmet, and then face mask call is made. You've got to get out there when you're at that quick screen to have those offensive linemen get out there to start putting blocks on those defensive secondary people, and that's what opens it up.
The penalty against Hewitt moves the ball down to the 37-yard line. 1st and 10 for Hamilton as Stapler goes wide to the right. This is the deepest into Argo territory the Ticats have been this afternoon. Champion, the receiver, makes the catch. First down, forced out of bounds by Cliff Hewitt down at the 22-yard line.
While Steve Stapler clears out the zone, Champion just goes down and breaks to the sideline. He's got a step or so on Hewitt, maybe 5 yards. Had time to even turn up the field. So as you said, it's the deepest they've been. They've got to get a touchdown. The 3 points they don't want. They want 7.
We've talked a number of times about the beautiful afternoon in Toronto, 8 degrees the temperature. It wasn't that good on Thursday. About 6 inches of snow fell in the Toronto area, and this field was covered with a blanket of white. The grounds crew did an excellent job of preparing the field for this game. Walter Bender picks up about 3 yards, and surrounding CNE Stadium, huge piles of snow as they shoveled it off, enabling the teams to practice Friday and yesterday, and the fine drying conditions today have made for excellent playing conditions.
I think Kerrigan now is in what would you call 3-down territory. I don't know whether they'll go for any field goals anymore with the rest of the game being behind the way they are, so they've got to try to get up with touchdowns to get back in this game.
2nd and 8. Complete to Ron Ingram for a first down at the 10-yard line. Stopped by Carl Braisley.
Well, he learned his lesson well. When he looked over at that defense, he sees Carl Braisley one-on-one over there all by himself. He went to an audible. You could tell by the way the backs were blocking. He went right to the area you had to go through to beat the defense.
And the thing you pointed about before, Ronnie, about Ingram, this time he puts himself in between that defensive back and the ball coming, which prevents the defensive back from knocking it down.
1st and goal for the Ticats from just inside the 10. Kerrigan lobbing it for Stapler. He's got it. What a perfect throw as Stapler took it right in the corner of the end zone behind Kerry Parker. And Ticat owner Harold Ballard is a little more pleased with the developments as he watches from the press box. He is now up on his feet, applauding the effort of Kerrigan and Steve Stapler.
Well, it's a well-thrown football. Mike just comes out quick, let it go. Throw it high and far to the sidelines. You can't throw it any better. Look at that. Excellent concentration. Parker's right there. Excellent catch. 1 foot down, that's all he needs.
And the point after by Paul Osbaldiston, and Al Bruno says, don't write us off yet.
Well, that's right. I think the Hamilton Tiger-Cats are still at a point where they can score points and get back in this game. They've got to hold them with their defense and do the job and come up with drives like they did there with good field position and come up with a touchdown, as you see here, to Stapler. Now, Stapler's done an excellent job as far as running his pattern to the outside, right to the corner of the end zone where you want to be.
I think Stapler is also quite relieved that the punting chores have been taken away from him in this ball game. And Paul Osbaldiston is looking after both the place kicking and the punting.
Yeah, Steve never was a punter. I mean, he might have punted in high school, maybe a little bit in college, but if Steve Stapler is going to help your football club, it's making catches like he just made, not booming the ball 60 yards downfield.
How Al Bruno has missed his outstanding place kicker and punter Bernie Ruoff over the final half of the season, but Paul Osbaldiston has certainly done an excellent job in the placement department. He, of course, a product of the Richmond Raiders, first with the BC Lions, replacing the injured Lou Pasaglia, then taking over from Trevor Kennard in Winnipeg, and when Bernie Ruoff went down, he found employment with the Hamilton Tiger-Cats. He's from Richmond. He'd love to go to the Grey Cup game. He'd have large contingent of family and friends there to cheer him on. Penalty flag. That will be a face mask call against the Hamilton Tiger-Cats on the kickoff return. Dwight Edwards and his helmet almost yanked off his head.
Major foul, face mask, Hamilton 66.
You know,
Big Miles Gorell reached in there.
Dwight Edwards has been around the league for quite a while, and you know, when he first came up, Leo was a coach here, and I was a quarterback here, and he came out of a little team here in Mississauga. One of the problems we had, I had worked with him a lot of times throwing passes to him, and I think he had a problem with his eyes. I know, Roddy, you had him out in Saskatchewan there for a while, but he's a fast runner, and that's what you want to have, is that speed.
Well, Chuck, you played with him. Ron Lancaster, you coached Dwight Edwards. And with that kickoff return and the penalty, the Argos are at their own 50-yard line, 1st and 10. 7:42 remaining in the half. J.C. Watts can't find a receiver, takes off, and is stopped at the midfield stripe by Ben Zambiazzi.
One of the things is a quarterback that they want to try to stop J.C. Watts from getting outside. That is not always the problem. The problem is if you get the containment from the defensive ends is to leave these gaps. As you see J.C. Watts here run up the middle. And the quarterbacks who can run are more dangerous when they have the middle of the field where they can go either right or left. If you force them to the sideline, then you got a better chance of defense against them.
Middle linebacker Ben Zambiazzi, a former Shenley Award winner, is Rookie of the Year in the Canadian Football League. Willie Pless of Toronto and Harold Hallman of Calgary vying for that honor this year. J.C. Watts is going to be dropped for a loss by Frank Robinson. He was blitzing from his outside linebacking spot.
Well, the Tiger Cats know they've got to put the pressure on him.
The amazing thing about it, here he is right at the bottom. Everything goes away from him, so there's nobody to block him. This is what you got to do. You choke off J.C. Watts inside and let somebody come get him. We said they'd bring 5. They have 5. They left too big a gaps with 4, so they come to that 5-man rush that cuts those alleys down.
3rd down kick by Hank Olisic. A bad snap way over his head. Olisic chasing the ball back. All he can do is down it at the 10. Let me tell you, suddenly the Hamilton Tiger Cats are right back in it. There's a penalty flag. A flag after Hank Olisic had been down. And this, I believe, will go against Olisic.
Questionable conduct, Toronto number 8.
He threw the ball at Terry Lenny after he was stopped.
Deserve a penalty for that.
So the Hamilton Tiger Cats have a touchdown opportunity with 6:27 left in the half. Vilovich has to be concerned with the way this game has turned around when it appeared he had it in total control. And now the Ticats are 1st and goal from the 6-yard line. They look for Ingram. He can't quite catch it. A similar play to the one Kerrigan lobbed over the head of Kerry Parker into the hands of Steve Stapler.
Well, he threw it to the right place again, Chuck. Throw it outside the defender to the sideline. Ingram just couldn't get to it.
Well, when you're playing a receiver, you know those defensive backs are going to be tight. And all they're going to do is watch you and wait till you react to the ball. If the pass is thrown perfect enough in there, it could be a touchdown. It has to be a good throw when you have good coverage like Kerry Parker did right there.
2nd and goal from the 6-yard line. Stapler wide to the right, Ingram to the left. Pass into the end zone. Walter Bender, touchdown. And suddenly that 26-point lead has been reduced to 13.
Well, good pass by Kerrigan. Same play that he had earlier, except they were in man coverage, and Kerrigan had to throw a perfect pass, and he did, into the end zone for the touchdown.
What you have now is you say man coverage. Number 73, the middle linebacker, has to run with him. He turns him to Willie Pless. Willie Pless can't run with him. He just goes up and makes the catch. That's an excellent effort by Bender to get 2 hands up, hang on to it, and now the momentum may be shifting a little bit.
Paul Osbaldiston to attempt the point after. .552, the time remaining in the half, and Osbaldiston is successful. So the scoreboard this afternoon reads 17-15. The Hamilton Tiger Cats leading, and Toronto's edge in the total point affair down to 12.
Well, Ronnie, as you said, the momentum is beginning to change as far as Hamilton versus Toronto. Toronto had all those points ahead, and now Hamilton has got some breaks, and now it's beginning to come back. And that's important for them. They knew that they had to come in and be aggressive and create some breaks as far as their defense was concerned.
Just looking at Walter Bender there, I was talking with him last week down in Hamilton at that game. He's a good friend of Mike Strickland, a running back used to play with BC and play with us in Saskatchewan. They're both from Detroit. He's wanting to know what Mike Strickland named the bear, what the bear's doing. I said, he's still living there.
He's up in Prince Albert now.
He moved then. But I saw him last time I saw him, he was still in Regina. What a good guy he is.
In terms of net offense, the Ticats have the edge. Kerrigan, as cold as he was last week, is hot today.
You got to keep throwing. You can't give up. He knows he played poorly last week. You don't have to hit a guy in the head.
Dwight Edwards starts from the 20-yard line. Dwight Edwards is stopped at the 42 by Mark Napierkowski.
Now the Argonauts and J.C. Watson have got to get something established once again. They've got to take the momentum back, and the way you do that is to drive down the field with your offense and come up with some points on the board.
Well, those Hamilton Tiger Cats had that tough beginning where you lose a player in pregame warm-up, then you lose one on the opening kickoff. Every guy is valuable, but they're two starters off your football club. Now they're having a little meeting, and Coach Ken Hobart's holding the clinic. Him and John Salvanis is in there, the offensive line coach.
J.C. Watts for Darrell Smith. Big catch.
Well thrown football. That's the way you throw it in the hole and let the receiver go get it.
Well, J.C. read that well. They were in a three-deep zone where the three-deep men drop back, and once you get past that linebacker, as a quarterback, you make that read and throw it before you have to throw it too far up the field so the defensive backs can't react back up to the ball. He reads it well, good protection from his offensive line, and throws it in the hole.
15 to 18 yards.
Away from the play, what a hit Chris Woods took from Lance Shields. Shields playing the other corner spot absolutely decked Chris Woods. But it's a gain of 25 on the pass to Darrell Smith, and now William Miller tries to break off tackle and picks up about 4. Conrad Holloway, today when we visited with him in the dressing room, said, "Stay away from me, fellas. I've been sick for the last 2 days."
Yeah, I asked him today if he was in there early, because last time we were here, he was getting dressed, and that took forever. He was already dressed when we got. He said he was the first one in line today.
Second and 6, the Argos at the 38 of Hamilton. Good protection for J.C. It's knocked away. Mark Streeter came across at just the last moment as it appeared as though William Miller had a touchdown.
Well, those defensive backs, Chuck, can go a long way when it's in the air, and Mark Streeter, that ball was in the air about 45 yards. He just goes to it.
Well, the thing with Mark Streeter, he was covering another man, and he saw the ball going back to William Miller. He came off his man and reacted back into the play and knocked it down. Big play for that defense to come up and stop them short.
What a year Lance Jomick has had. He's been good on 77.1% of his field goal tries. This is a 44-yard kick. It's wide. Paul Bennett gets it out of the end zone, and Paul Bennett runs it to the 12. Now, in any other circumstances, Bennett might have conceded the single point, but remember, this is a total point affair. The differential right now standing at 12, and they can't take a chance on giving up points.
No, and he's out past the 10-yard line, too. So, he got a good return out of that. He didn't give it up on the 1-yard line. That would have been a different story, but they have room to operate. As long as you can get your quarterback and offensive unit room to operate, go ahead and do it.
And you have to give Dan Ferrone credit for coming down and making an excellent play in tackling Paul Bennett at the 12. First and 10, Hamilton. Kerrigan bounced it in front of Steve Stapler. He had him open at about 15 yards deep.
It's an awfully long pass, though. You throw from one hash and try to get 10-yard out. You're throwing the ball 40 yards across the field to try to get a 10-yard gain on it. It's a long pass. Defensive backs can react up on that. He threw it a little short, and they weren't able to get the first down.
That's the way you check a quarterback's arm strength. Have him throw from one hash to the wide side of the field to the sideline. If he can get it there on the fly, he's okay.
Second and 10 from the 12-yard stripe. swings it out to Jed Tommy. He'll be stopped short of the first down at the 20. Don Moan from his linebacking position came over to make the tackle with 3:01 remaining in this first half. The statistical story and highlights of the first half this afternoon at CNE Stadium. Paul Osbaldiston, each time he's gone out to punt, has had final instruction from Al Bruno, and I'm sure Bruno is saying to him, kick it out of bounds. Kick it to the sidelines. Don't give Chris Roods some running room. And the coverage is excellent as they stop him back at the 47-yard line. Mark Napierkowski, the first man downfield. Well, next Sunday, of course, is Grey Cup Sunday from Vancouver, and we invite you to join us on CBC television for all the excitement. Our countdown to Grey Cup beginning at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time. That's 3 o'clock here in the East. Followed, of course, by the Grey Cup game on CBC television. You'll have a busy and enjoyable day if you stick with us on CBC for the excitement of Grey Cup 86. And hit screen to Keith Baker, and Baker has a gain of 8.
Good safe play when you can throw it out there and Keith Baker, and he can get a hold of it with some blocking to get up with 6 or 7 yards and put that defense in a tough bind as far as what you're going to do on second down. You can either throw it or run it. In this case, the Toronto Argonauts want to come up with a first down, use up the clock, and get some points on the board.
Well, Les Brown, of course, had been looking forward to this game as he and Baker were teammates, and they had some enjoyable battles during practice sessions, and Les Brown was looking forward to defending against Keith Baker in this ball game. The pitch to William Miller, he won't get the first down. Penalty flag in the play. A holding call, I think, against the Toronto Argonauts as well.
Once again, Don.
Holding 37 Toronto.
Once again, the key is number 20, Mark Streeter, just as we saw Darrell Wilson do a while ago. Let's watch and see what Mark Streeter does. They want to run a toss. You get across that line of scrimmage. Watch how fast he's into the backfield. Number 20. Bang, he's in there. Now, there's nowhere for that back to go. He's got to make a decision. It hesitates, and that allows them big defensive linemen to come and put him down.
It's one thing to be quick. He was almost a little too quick. He came very close to putting himself offside. The holding call against Warren Hudson. The penalty is declined by the Ticats. And the third down punt by Hank Olisic. It bounces back towards the line of scrimmage. Picked up by Paul Bennett, and he is stopped at the 30-yard line. 1:59 is the time remaining in the half. There's also a penalty flag back at the line of scrimmage.
No fit. Holding Hamilton 61.
A holding call against Mike Walker. The holding after the kick and after the return. So the penalty will take the ball back towards the Hamilton goal line, but the Ticats will retain possession.
Big as Walker is, he doesn't need to hold anybody.
You know, Don, it's kind of a key minute and 59 seconds right now. The Ticats are on the 10-yard line. Now, they don't want to turn it over, but they don't want to play too conservative. They still got to attempt to move the ball down and get points in this last 2 minutes of the half. So I don't think we're going to see them sitting back.
Well, Kerrigan told us that he would redeem himself this afternoon following his poor effort last Sunday, and in the first half, he certainly has. Waller Bender to the 15-yard line. A gain of 5. It will be 2nd and 5.
Again, Kerrigan knows that they're going to be back playing that zone defense and dropping those linebackers off. If he can hit those backs or those inside receivers in the short areas, and they can pick up yards on their own. Pick up 5 or 6 yards and have a better position to call the second down play.
As long as those linebackers continue to drop as deep as they are, I think we'll see Kerrigan try and exploit that area about 5 to 10 yards deep. Off the fingertips of Tony Champion. Good coverage provided by Cliff Hewitt.
Yeah, we almost had the big thing you don't want there. That was almost tipped up in the air for Carl Brazeley. There's Les Brown, finished for the day. He's got to be disappointed as you know, he looks forward to playing. He's a real good corner. You can't afford to have them out of the game.
Well, you know, you had a situation with Les Brown. He had a knee injury. I can't understand why he would be on the specialty teams as far as return when you know you've had that knee problem and you want to keep him in the game. That's a big decision by the coaches, but that would be a tough call to make.
And now a key minute and 35 seconds for the Toronto Argonauts because they're going to get the ball in excellent field position. The kick bounces out of bounds at the 43-yard line.
Yeah, it is a key situation, as you mentioned, a minute and 26 seconds, and the way Chomick kicks the ball, I think they're already in field goal range. So if J.C. Watts can now go to some sort of a ball control, hope to get a touchdown, but at least come out of here with a field goal, you know, that's all they want now, just move it in.
And the Tiger Cats defense, on the other hand, will have to come up with a big play to stop any type of points to be put on the board. As you said, Ron, Lance Chomick's in field goal position.
Well, in the first quarter, it looked as though this ball game was all but over, and I'm sure Al Bruno had some similar thoughts as his club trailed by 26, but they fought back. The pass intended for William Miller, incomplete.
See Mike Walker doing a little bit of talking. He's going to talk to William Miller. It looks kind of funny. William Miller's about 5'8". Walker's as big as a house. Mike Walker was playing a screen pass is what J.C. Watts had called, and he just ran with him all the way.
Sometimes they put a scout in that defensive line. In this case, Mike Walker was the scout. When they read that screen, they just follow that running back out to the flat and stay with him in case he'd throw him the ball. And that time he did a good job in staying with William Miller.
2nd and 10 from the 43-yard line. Baker goes wide left. Chris Woods comes out to the right. 1:20 the time left in this first half. Deep throw for Chris Woods. Incomplete. Double coverage provided by Lance Shields and Paul Bennett. Woods protesting that he was interfered with, but his pleas will fall on deaf ears.
I don't know what he's hollering about. I mean, you got double coverage. You got Lance Shields on one side, you got Paul Bennett coming from the other. That's good defense. That ball's in the air. It belongs to anybody that can get it.
Well, Bob Obilovich does not send out the field goal unit. He sends the punting squad, and Hank Alisic could easily reach the end zone.
Well, both guys are right there. Everybody's going for the ball. Good coverage by Bennett coming back from his free safety spot.
Bad kick by Alisic. He shanked that one out of bounds.
Well, you know, the Hamilton Tiger Cat special teams coach, Frank North, I was talking with him before the game, and he felt that they were going to put pressure on Alisic every time he punted. They needed him to shank one. He finally did it for them because we've seen Alisic kick it out of the stadium from there, but they finally got the shank they wanted, and they gained to the 35-yard line, gained 25 yards of field position with a minute left. They can still get points.
That kick traveled just 8 yards. Well, it's been a rough afternoon for Hank Alisic. A kick sailing over his head, subsequently drawing a penalty for unsportsmanlike conduct, and then an 8-yard kick. Kerrigan throws complete to Champion. First down out at the 47.
Good grab by Champion because the ball was thrown a little bit behind him, and he curled back to the inside of the field and fell back out to the outside and caught the ball for the first down. Now they're in their their quick offense where Kerrigan will come at the line of scrimmage and call the play and get the play off.
Kerrigan has hit on 17 of 23 throws. He completes this to Rocky DiPietro to the 40-yard line of the Argos.
You know what's funny? We talk about J.C. Watt's ability to scramble. All that happened there, Mike Kerrigan started toward the line of scrimmage, and the linebacker left DiPietro, and he hit him. So when a quarterback can move around a little bit, he causes problems.
That was a gain of 23 for number 23. To the sidelines for Stapler, he takes it out of bounds with a gain of about 6.
Well, good throw by Kerrigan. I tell you, he's courageous as far as throwing that ball on that 5-yard out pattern to the outside like that, because that ball hangs up a lot of times, and a guy like Carl Brazeley can react up and pick that thing off. He's going to take it all the way.
Well, you know, Chuck, you got to do it.
Yep.
I mean, if you can't throw it, I mean, you don't have it in the offense if you're not going to call it. Go ahead and throw it. They go the other way, bye-bye.
And, of course, with Stapler going out of bounds, that also provided the Ticats with an opportunity to huddle up, as the clock will not start until the ball is snapped. 43 seconds remaining in the half. 2nd and 4 from the 34. Over the middle to Rocky DiPietro. He's got the first down. David Marshall, the linebacker, and defensive back Cliff Hewitt came in to make the tackle.
Good case where the linebackers are dropping off. Rocky just delays a little bit and drags across the middle in front of him. Get the ball there, pick up the 5 yards for the first down.
Back to the live action, the first down play. This time, Kerrigan avoids the pressure, throws to Jed Tommy, and Tommy fights to the 20. Stopped by David Marshall. 28 seconds, the time left in the half.
They still got a lot of time. That time, they, as Chuck has mentioned and we've mentioned, they want to sit in that zone defense, make them earn it. So they took what they gave and got 7 yards.
And they still have their timeout to spend. Kerrigan completes the pass to Ron Ingram down at the 7-yard line.
One of the fine things that you don't notice is that Kerrigan looked to his left. The defensive corner, Parker, rolled up into the zone when he wanted to hit in the flat, and then he came off into a secondary receiver. One of the fine points you sometimes miss by a quarterback like Kerrigan.
First and goal, Kerrigan rolling to his right, he'll run it! He won't get there, he stopped at the 1 with 13 seconds left. But he also goes out of bounds, and there's a penalty flag in the end zone. It appears to be a holding call against Toronto.
Yeah, I think where it was thrown, it wasn't thrown by the guy that usually calls the offensive line. This happened in the Argos secondary.
Holding Toronto.
Arda Selda, the assistant coach of the Argonauts, more than a little upset at that Toronto bench as he talks with the receiving crew and the quarterback.
Well, the momentum has definitely left them in the second quarter. Hamilton's got things going. Good call. It's either going to be second down or take a half the distance to the goal line and get first down. Take that first down with 13 seconds. I think you can get 3 plays in.
Plus they have their timeout left.
Hobart's in.
First and goal from the 3. Hobart in at quarterback. He gives it to Bender. He's stopped. Continues fighting. Touchdown. Second effort by Walter. Bender got him into the end zone.
Well, they put Ken Hobart into the football game so that when he comes out of there with the ball, that Argo defense cannot jam inside because he'll keep it himself. He's an excellent runner, and that sometimes will allow a guy like Walter Bender great second effort to get that touchdown.
It was an effort by Walter Bender because he got hit and stopped at about the 3-yard line, and then he puts himself on in himself. If you get this type of effort from your running backs, that's what you want because the offensive line has to make that initial surge, and once he's stopped there, he just keeps driving his legs and carries it to the end zone on his own.
The point after now by Paul Osbaldiston. It's good. 24-15 this afternoon, a 75-yard drive, and 46-41 on the total point affair, the Argos leading.
Well, with 8 seconds left, you got to be thinking ahead. But let's take a look at Bender. He tries to dive or get up in the air, but he's too far away from the goal line. Plus, the Argos wouldn't let him. But when he comes down, he did a wise thing. Get those feet moving because he wasn't grabbed. Get those legs churning. But what I started to say, Don, right now at 8 seconds, I would not kick the ball deep. I would not kick that ball down that field where a guy like Woods can break 100 yards on you. Let's just kick it right down here around the 40-yard line and hope one of them big linemen pick it up and you can make the tackle.
Well, we said at the start of the ball game that 14 points was not an insurmountable lead. When the Argos stretched it to 26 points, that probably sounded like just so many empty words, but suddenly it's a 5-point difference.
What sets up a great second half, coming down to that final 30 minutes of football, and that's all you can ask.
I know your comment during a commercial break when they went ahead by 21. You said it's all over.
Well, I thought with all the breaks Hamilton had, and they have those breaks early, they could just as easy fold up the tent.
Dwight Edwards. When he fielded that ball, all he could do was roll out of bounds, and that also stops the clock with 27 seconds left in the half.
Well, it's a good call by you, Ronnie. The fact that
seconds left in the half.
Excuse me, the fact that they kick that ball down into that no-man's zone and have to spend time trying to catch it and get it there, you get your coverage down there on top of the guy, and he doesn't have the time to react and get the long runoff.
Well, and you got Dwight Edwards and Chris Woods back there. You got 2 guys that can go the distance. Don't give them a chance. Question is, what's JC do? Looks like he's just going to come down, kneel down, and end the in the game. Let's take a look.
Well, the Argos, who have seen the Hamilton Tiger Cats get things into gear in this second half and now have the momentum on their side, are going to just run out the clock, go to the dressing room, and try and regroup. Try and think about and execute the good things that were happening in the first quarter.
And they're going to do whatever Artis Elder was upset about, I think. He was really upset over on that Argonaut bench.
Again, JC goes down on one knee, and that will end the first half. And the Hamilton Tiger Cats are right back in it. They trail by just 5 points in this total point affair. 46-41 is the score in favor of Toronto over Hamilton. Now let's go to Brian Williams at CFL Control.
All right, Don, what...
Brian, you're absolutely right. The weather has changed rather dramatically, just as the fortunes of the Ticats have changed. It was warm and sunny at the start of the ball game, but it has now started to rain. Statistically, 16 first downs for the Ticats, 8 for the Toronto Argonauts in the first half, 264 yards net offense, 140 for Toronto, and the difference now in this total point affair reduced to 5 points. Mike Kerrigan has held a hot hand, but the Ticats were aided in that second quarter on a bad snap by Dan Petchnig. It sailed over the head of Hank Olisic. He has to chase the ball down back at his own 12-yard line, and as he gets up, he'll throw the ball at Terry Lenny, drawing an objectionable conduct flag, and that gave the Ticats a first and goal situation from the 6-yard line, and they were able to capitalize for the major score, and as a result, they now trail in this total point affair by just 5 points. We'll be back after this.
Now the head coach of the Hamilton Ticats, Al Bruno, smiling from ear to ear. A 14-point deficit to start the game. You're down to 5 points. You said you weren't going to be concerned about that 14-point deficit, and you played like it.
Well, I'm not smiling yet, but I'm not, it's still not a lot of game left, and I'm pleased the way they played that second quarter. And if we can maintain that, and we have a chance of winning.
It seemed like it took you a quarter to get rolling.
Well, we had the big plays first quarter, then it took us a whole half to get moving, but. We're moving the ball back and forth now, and I hope we can continue. The defense is playing well, so I'll tell you, it's going to be right down to the wire.
What adjustments did you make on offense in the second quarter that enabled Kerrigan to move the offense so well?
We made some changes on some of our patterns. We leaked some people out, the backs, and made some good first downs for us. And we start hitting the middle and try to get the linebackers out there, and it's been paying off for us.
Al, congratulations on a good first half. Have a good second half.
Oh, thank you. I hope so.
Okay, Al Bruno, the head coach of the Hamilton Ticats. Now let's go back upstairs.
Okay, Steve, Paul Osbaldiston kicking off to get this second half underway. Knight Edwards takes it at the 20-yard line. And he runs into Miles Corral at the 37.
Well, a little better start for the Hamilton Ticats as far as they're concerned. That first half, they let one get through on a punt return, and they get picked up a lot of yards. This time, they stop them in reasonable good field position for their defense to take over.
Well, Al Bruno may have told Steve Armitage that he was rather calm and cool and wasn't excited at the bench, but I guarantee you his pulse is pounding away at a rather high rate.
Yeah, they had every opportunity in that first 5 or 6 minutes of that first quarter to say, oh, to heck with it. You know, when you have guys getting injured before the game starts and stuff like that, it has a heck of an effect on your football club. So they have come back. Now it's up to Toronto to take it from here and get the momentum swung their way.
Hamilton scored 21 unanswered points in the second quarter. In this total point affair, they had fallen behind by 26 points. Now it's been reduced to 5. Now, I'm not sure what the discussion is about, but the Argos are going to be scrimmaging from the 38-yard line, 1st and 10. And it is now raining quite heavily here at CNE Stadium. Hand off to William Miller. Miller gets to the outside. He'll be close to the first down.
Good play by William Miller. He did what we were talking about early. He headed for the middle off a tackle play and just slid to the outside and picked up the hole and was able to pick up the first down by him sliding and reading that. As a running back, you teach guys, read that hole. If it's not there, find other areas. And that's the difference between the good running backers and the great ones.
And that's what you like to see in a running back. He knew where that forward marker was. He drove those final couple of yards.
Yeah, it's a great start for the Argonauts to come out and get a first down running on the first play of the second half. It's a good way to start.
Hand off again to William Miller. He fights for about 3, maybe 4 yards. Stopped by Mitchell Price.
Same play. Come back with it. Get you 10 yards on the first time. Let's try it again.
From the bench, the Argos trying to provide encouragement for that offensive unit. A gain of 3. It will be 2nd and 7. The ball is at the 51. Toronto leading the total point affair, 46-41. William Miller again, good hold, penalty flag as Miller is stopped at the 45. And I believe it's going to go against the Argos, a holding infraction.
Holding Toronto number 66.
One of the reasons they're going to run the football over here is this. This man right here is number 43, Frank Robinson. So they've taken him away from the linebacking position. That makes them 1 short. So when you take that linebacker out of there, it makes an easier job for your offensive line. They do a real good job. Coming up through that hole again was number 51 for the Argonauts, Mark Napolitan, the center, coming around there, and he made a heck of a block to spring him.
Calvin Prinster was guilty of the holding violation that negates a fine run by William Miller and puts the Argos in a 2nd down situation back at the 41-yard line. J.C. Watts scrambling, still looking for a receiver and still on his feet, finally down by Frank Robinson and Leo Ezerins. And there's a penalty flag way downfield. Lance Shields working against Chris Woods. It could be an interference call against Hamilton.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness, Hamilton 27.
Well, Don, you mentioned earlier in the game where you saw Lance Shields put a hit on Woods. Lance Shields must have something really against Chris Woods as far as shaking him up a little bit and hitting him. That time he probably hit him too far downfield, and that's why the penalty was thrown.
The man down on one knee is Leo Ezerins, the Hamilton linebacker. He got caught up in the traffic as they came over trying to defend against the scrambling of J.C. Watts.
Coach Bruno didn't like that roughing call, but I don't know why Chris Woods would be laying face down on the field on a pass pattern if somebody didn't hit him. So they must have knocked him down pretty good.
Leo Ezerins, who initially came into the Canadian Football League out of Whitworth College, where he played for Hugh Campbell, to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers as a tight end, converted to a linebacker, and then traded to the Hamilton Tiger Cats, an exchange that saw David Shaw go to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Trade that benefited both ball clubs too. That's what's good about a trade, when it benefits both clubs.
Mike Robinson moves into the game, replacing Leo Ezerins at that linebacking position. 1st and 10 for Toronto. They are at the 48. Pressure from the backside. J.C. Watts gets the throw away to Daryl Smith. 1st down.
Well, we saw the coach of the Toronto Argonauts screaming something to his players on the offense before they went in at halftime. And when you go in the dressing room at halftime, you make certain adjustments based on what he's seen upstairs and what they're doing on the field. And evidently, they've seen that their linebackers are doing certain things, and they're reacting to it by hitting passes in the flat, as well as using that running back coming out of the backfield.
Yes, Artis Selda was particularly upset with his receiving corps just prior to the end of the first half, and it appears as though they made some adjustments during the break. William Miller takes the handoff for a gain of about 3 or 4 yards.
In the middle of the field, let's look dash left, dash right. The Sylvia will be on this side. Balance, dash right.
That play that they scored a touchdown to Daryl Smith that we illustrated for him at the halftime, the dash, only this time they're going to do it to the right. They're going to go to the right side with it. Let's see what they do.
Well, the Hamilton Tiger Cats defensively keep moving Grover Covington and David Sauve at those defensive end positions. You heard Coach Bob Obilovich, they want to go to the side David Sauve is on. J.C. Watts, however, has to come back the other way into traffic. He's dropped for a loss.
That time they did hook David Sauve to the inside, and J.C. Watts got to the outside, but there was good coverage in the secondary. J.C. Watts dropped back in the pocket, and then he breaks to the outside, and if that defensive end is not playing his true spot by going up the field, he gets sucked in and gets hooked, and allows you to get into the outside. As you see, J.C. Watts is going like he's going to do a drop back pass, rolls to his right. Now there's no receiver there, and he's tried to come back, and he gets sacked.
Good coverage downfield by that secondary. And now a 43-yard field goal attempt by Lance Chomick. It's good. And the Argos are now in front by 8 points. 10:37 is the time left to play in the third quarter. Ticat logo emblazoned on the Hamilton helmet. To the right, a shamrock in memory of the vice president of the Ticats, the late King Clancy. And Harold Ballard, the president of the Hamilton Tiger Cats, chatting with him prior to the game, talking about King Clancy and the many enjoyable moments we had visiting with them over the years prior to football games up in the press box.
Boy, he made it enjoyable, didn't he?
Steve Stapler taking it out of bounds at the 42-yard line.
I tell you, Ronnie, you worked with Kerrigan during the summer, and I tell you, he has a good arm and a good ability to throw that ball on a line to the outside.
Well, he's got a good throwing motion, and he's a big kid. And he come from a school at Northwestern where he took a lot of licks. They didn't win many football games when he was there, but he definitely learned how to throw the ball, and he throws it well.
2nd and 3 for the Ticats from the 47-yard line. Hand off to Walter Bender. He'll be close to the first down. Willie Pless and Rodney Harding combined to bring him down. We'll see where they spot it. It may be close enough for a measurement. No, it is a first down. They signal to move the yardsticks along, and it will be 1st and 10 from just outside the 45.
Well, one of the keys in keeping an offense alive on the field, keeping drives going, when it's 2nd down and 3, you must convert those. Running or throwing, it doesn't matter, but when you can run, and that line will come off and you get the 3 yards, it does a lot for their confidence.
Quickly to Walter Bender. Bender trying to get to the outside. He goes down in the grasp of Willie Pless, but he got to the 36 of the Argos.
Good play by Willie Pless as far as reacting back.
Well, what Mike Kerrigan sees, he's looking at the defense. He looks now. He's caught the linebacker inside. All he does is go to the opening and then see how fast you can get the ball from there to there. And he gets it there in a hurry. And that linebacker, he's took a look at it, but he can't get there fast enough, and then he can't make the tackle. Bender's got good speed, good moves, gets outside.
Bender has been on the receiving end of 5 throws this afternoon for 63 yards. 1st and 10 from the 36. The draw play with Bender again. Just too much traffic. Too many blue jerseys converged on him. Led by Darrell Wilson and Willie Pless.
Whenever you make a running back make that many moves on the line of scrimmage before he can get upfield, he's not going to gain any yards. That Argonaut defense will be all over him, and they were. Didn't gain 1 inch. 2nd and 10.
The Ticats with the injury problem with John Malinowski, their starting right tackle in the pregame warm-up, shifting Pat Brady into the guard position, Ralph Scholes to the offensive tackle spot, and of course they also lost Les Brown on the game's opening kickoff. He has been replaced with Mark Streeter moving outside and Terry Lenny coming into the inside halfback position. Walter Bender now coming out of the ball game, and Dan Hucklack comes in for Hamilton. Toronto Argonauts haven't been without their problems. They lost Gerald Bayless in the first quarter of the ball game. Second and 10. Kerrigan looking for champion, knocked down by David Marshall.
Good play by Marshall. Kerrigan just misread that, tried to throw that ball over Marshall, and Marshall plays a good middle linebacker, and he's big, and he stands in there and is rangy. So Kerrigan has to wait till he passes that middle linebacker, get on the other side before he throws that ball.
Well, you're right about one thing. He's 6'3", and when he drops back there and gets those arms up, you got to put it up awful high. He didn't get it up high enough.
As Kerrigan comes off, Tom Porras goes out to hold for a 43-yard field goal try by Paul Osbaldiston. It's wide. but it will go through the end zone for a single point. So with 7:50 remaining in the third quarter, the Toronto Argonaut lead over the Hamilton Tiger Cats is down to 7 points. This year's Carling O'Keefe Sports Game Stars in the Grey Cup will each receive a 36-inch Sony Videoscope television valued at over $4,500, presented by Remington, makers of the 3M surgical clippers for hospitals and the microscreen rechargeable for you at home. Advanced shaving technology only from Remington. For a guy who spends as much time in front of a television set as you do, Mr. Lancaster, that would be a perfect gift for you.
No, I do watch television. I don't miss too many things on there.
That's an interesting statistic. 303 net yards for Hamilton as opposed to 170 for Toronto.
Toronto started fast, but they haven't been consistent throughout this football game. They need to get it going.
From the 36, first and 10, JC decided to take off, then threw it, and it's incomplete. The Ticats are protesting that he deliberately threw that ball away. I'm sure they're right in that assessment, but there was a receiver in the vicinity. Warren Hudson was there.
Well, Hudson was close, and one of the things that the Tiger Cats wanted to do was to try to cut off the lanes and shut JC down from coming back around. When he makes his turn, when JC goes out to the outside, he has a tendency to come back from one side. This time he gets jammed up, as you see right there, by Ben Zambiazzi.
A hit like that will certainly get your attention.
Real quick.
From the shotgun, the first time this afternoon they've operated from this formation. Over the middle, incomplete. It was intended for Paul Pearson, and I believe that's the first time they've thrown a pass in his direction today.
Had good coverage by Terry Laney on him. But boy, I'll tell you what, if he could have got it there a little quicker, he was open. Terry Laney reacted back up on Pearson when he made his cut, and it was just a little bit late getting there.
7:08 is the time left in the third quarter. The Argos lead by a converted touchdown in this two-game total point Eastern final. The winner will face either Edmonton or British Columbia next Sunday in the Grey Cup game. Good pressure by the Ticats, but Illicit gets away an excellent kick. Taken by Paul Bennett at the 25-yard line, and Bennett is stopped at the 33 by Don Moan.
I tell you what, that's got to be a lonely feeling for Bennett. You know that all your guys are going after the ball, and there's no protection down there in the block, and you see all the blue jerseys coming down you at once. So all you want to do is catch the ball, get up as many yards as you can, get into the ground.
Defensive signals being called by Sam Sanders as the Ticats scrimmage first and 10 from the 33. Stapler has the first down. Caught by Willie Plass.
Talk about a strong arm. When he threw that ball out there, Chuck, I could just see a blue jersey picking that off because they were in a short zone coverage. Kerry Parker was just sitting back there, but boy, he got out there in a hurry.
And the big thing about that, too, is Steve Stapler came back towards the ball, which helps the quarterback as far as any reaction by the defensive back coming up to try to pick it off.
Kerrigan with an 80% completion mark this afternoon. He won't get a chance to throw. The ball is loose. He gets it back. I'm not sure whether he fumbled that ball or was trying to flip it off to one of his teammates, but he was very fortunate that that ball came back.
I hope he was fumbling it. I hope he wasn't trying to pass it because he was. If it wasn't very smart. He got a good rush. Gets upfield in a hurry. Rodney Harding has him in the sack, and the ball goes up in the air, and they're very fortunate to get it back.
Mark Seal knocked the ball directly back to Kerrigan, who was down on the artificial turf here at C&E Stadium. Second and 17. Pressure again. He gets away for Champion. First down.
Just a good play by Kerrigan that time. He had the pressure and was able to get away from the pressure, hold on the ball, and pick up his receiver downfield. And that's a good sign for a quarterback. He can pick up his receiver after he gets hit back there.
Well, you say a game of inches. Watch Mark Seal. Just can't hold on to him. That gives Kerrigan time to find the hole. Throws it low. Champion slides and catches it.
1st and 10. The ball is at the 44 of the Argos. Draw play with Walter Bender. He decides to go to the outside. A good move. Bender's running extremely well.
Walter Bender has the good moves, and he was really motivated. And talking to him before that he wanted to play and do a good job because he's been out a few weeks with Zachary in there. Now he's replacing Zachary back in that backfield, and he's doing a good job as far as running with that ball.
Bender did a double clutch job in turning Don Moan inside out. And it's 1st and 10 for the Ticats. They are at the 31.5 of the Argos. 3:55 is the time remaining in the third quarter. Over the middle to Rocky DiPietro. DiPietro is actually going to lose yardage as he tried to outrun Cliff Hewitt, and he was knocked down at the 28-yard line.
Well, you take a look at Rocky DiPietro, he's just reading the linebackers and dragging across the middle and hoping to catch that ball in front of him as he did there. But that time he ran parallel to the line of scrimmage and started losing yards because he was dropping off. Get that ball, get what you can, and get yards up the field rather than backwards.
The ball is at the 28 of the Argos. 2nd and 6.
Reading the linebackers and dragging across the middle and hoping to catch that ball in front of him as he did there. But that time he ran parallel to the line of scrimmage and started losing yards because he was dropping off. Get that ball, get what you can, and get yards up the field rather than backwards.
The ball is at the 28 of the Argos. 2nd and 6. Kerrigan going deep into the end zone. Intercepted by Carl Braisley. Kerrigan was looking for Steve Stapler. Carl Braisley makes the end zone interception with 2:58 remaining in the third quarter. The Argos continue to lead by 7. The Argos hanging on to that 7-point advantage thanks to a key interception by Carl Braisley.
Well, when Kerrigan throws this ball, he should have probably thrown it a little straighter down the middle because Braisley was hanging back in his zone. But it's a great catch by Braisley reaching over his shoulder to take it away from Stapler.
Another view. The same result. Braisley with the interception. Back to the live action. 1st and 10 from the 25. Movement at the line of scrimmage. Mitchell Price had made contact.
Carl Braisley had 6 interceptions on the season. You know, he was playing inside at that halfback position most of the season. Then because of some adjusting that they did on their football club, he moved to the corner. He plays pretty well out there. That was a heck of a catch.
Dave Kersinger is the injured Toronto player. And the penalty against the Hamilton Tiger Cats, an offside call against Mitchell Price, so it will be 1st and 5 from the 30-yard line. Well, it's been an exciting afternoon here at CNE Stadium. We certainly hope you've enjoyed the action wherever you're looking in across the CBC television network. And we hope that you'll be joining us next Sunday afternoon from the Dome, the stadium at BC Place for Grey Cup activity, beginning with our countdown show. We advise you to check your local listings for the telecast time in your area, followed by the Grey Cup game itself. Steve Armitage, Brian Williams, Ron Lancaster, Chuck Ely, and I will be at BC Place Stadium to bring you the excitement of Grey Cup 86. Either the Toronto Argonauts or Hamilton Tiger Cats representing the East against the Edmonton Eskimos or BC Lions from the West. William Miller on 1st and 5. He's hit, fumbles. Hamilton's got it.
Paul Bennett, I really think, came up and made the hit in the hole. It's a funny place for the safety man to be, but it looked like number 27. I know we'll get a look at it. Coach Abilovich can't be too happy, but Al Bruno's thinking, let's put it in the end zone now.
Well, the key situations now are big plays. Brazeley comes up with a big play on an interception and stops the Tiger Cats from scoring a touchdown, and now the Tiger Cats get it back on a big play on a fumble.
Mitchell Price initially filled the hole, and then Paul Bennett came flying up there to hit William Miller, who was stumbling. And the Ticats have a great opportunity with 2:10 remaining in the third quarter to move into a tie. Sideline to Steve Stapler, out of bounds. Well, you have remarked, Ron, a number of times about the strong arm of Mike Kerrigan and throwing those out patterns. He's not shy about throwing to those sidelines. He doesn't seem to be concerned about interceptions. He's throwing out there.
Well, you really have to throw it out there. You know, if word ever gets out and you get a reputation of a man that won't throw to the outside, you're not going to ever get any one-on-one coverage. That corner will just sit out there and they'll double your inside receivers to death. You have to throw it out there.
And what it really does is keep those defensive backs honest. Rather than having to play to your inside and taking away your inside curls, they've got to play you straight up if they know a quarterback is going to hit that receiver on the outside.
2nd and 10. Walter Bender to the sidelines, thrown out of bounds by Cliff Hewitt, about a yard, maybe 2 yards shy of a first down. Decision time. Mike Kerrigan looks over to Al Bruno to see what the call is.
I think it's time to go after it. That's almost 2 yards. It's more than one. And they're going to send Hobart in with Jackson and Hucklack. Bring this thing to even if they can make the first down and eventually score.
Ken Hobart, the star of the Ticat drive to the Grey Cup in '85, in a backup capacity this year, but now in on this third down gamble. He fakes, he'll keep, he'll get the first down and much more.
Well, we said in the last time Hobart came in that he is a threat to keep the ball and run, and there was nothing there. He wasn't about to give it to Bender. He didn't even put the ball in his stomach.
Great play by Hobart. I used to love doing that play because what you do is that you know the linebackers and everybody are pitching in close. And if you can suck them in for a second, and as a quarterback like Hobart with the running ability he has, you can get to the outside and you're able to pick up the first down and maybe able to take it all the way. Good play by Ken.
1st and 10, the Ticats at the 12-yard line of the Toronto Argonauts, trailing by 7 points. Kerrigan throwing for Walter Bender, short, incomplete. Again, Kerrigan looks over to that bench for some help in play selection.
The one thing, it seems as though the Tiger Cats have had the ball a great deal of the time in this quarter, and is keeping that offense on the sideline and getting them cold, and JC and them will have to get warmed up again when they get something started, if they can.
Yeah, your offense gets warm the longer they're on the field. They need to be on the field.
2nd and 10 from the 12. There's the pass at the goal line. No sign. Ingram did not get in, but they have a first down. It will be 1st and goal from the 1.
Great play by Kerrigan again. He's throwing that ball right into the stomach of the quarterback, of the receiver. As a quarterback, when you have those slant patterns or the quick posts, the only one there, if there's no underneath coverage that you see here, there's no linebacker under there, drill into his stomach and let him put himself in between the defensive back and the ball.
Again, that short yardage offense is sent in by Al Bruno. That means Ken Hobart is at quarterback.
I wouldn't mess around. I'd just tell Hobart to sneak it 1 yard.
Is he in? Yes, there's the signal. It was a little delay before the officials raised their arms, but a signal touchdown for Ken Hobart, and now Paul Osbaldiston has a chance to create a tie.
You're basically going to have a one-quarter game.
I'll tell you what, we've seen too many teams not be able to get in from that 1 yard line. You got 3 shots and a guy that weighs 210 pounds with the running ability of Hobart and his power. Get it in there on the first shot. Don't let that team build any momentum by stopping you and handing that ball off deep. Let him do what he does best. Get it in there.
The point after by Paul Osbaldiston. Penalty flag on the play. He puts it through. But it appears, according to spotter Art Darch, that the Argos were offside. So, in all likelihood, the point will hold.
Offside, Toronto 35, decline, convert.
And that is also the end of the third quarter. So, in effect, as Chuck Ely said, this Eastern Championship has been reduced to 1 quarter of football.
Love the way they've come back.
That's what makes me proud to be with this team because they don't give up. And they're not going to give up now. And we're tied up. It's 0-0 going into this fourth quarter. So we're going to win it.
Good luck, Les.
Thanks.
Dwight Edwards on the kickoff return, and he is dropped at the 30-yard line by Ralph Schultz.
Well, you can see that momentum changing. That Hamilton Tiger Cat defensive team and special teams are all fired up. And now they're going to try to come up with the big plays to get that offense the ball one more time because Kerrigan is really moving that offensive team.
Emotion is so important in a football game. And when we look down at the Ticat bench in the first quarter, it was very quiet, and the Argonauts were happy. Now it's changed around. Argonauts got to do something offensively.
A 200-yard difference in terms of total offense. The edge belonging to the Ticats. Again, Toronto in that short punt formation. Pass almost intercepted by Frank Robinson.
Now, you know that is the type of interception that Frank Robinson feels that he should have had because they went right through his hands. But the problem sometimes is he's not expecting. You're looking at the man and it's right on top of you and it surprises him.
And as Frank Robinson looked at that bench, I'm sure there were some on that bench who said, yeah, Frank, you should have. Second and 10 from the 30-yard line. We're into the fourth quarter. The game tied. The total point affair at 49. In case you joined us late, the Argos won the first game by 14 and at one point this afternoon led by 26. Leo Edwards is after J.C. Watts. J.C. Watts trying to use his scrambling ability, throwing the ball up for grabs. It's intercepted. Terry Lenny makes the interception.
Well, when a quarterback runs to his left, as J.C. Watts did, and then to turn around and throw that ball clear across the field, that's exactly what should happen. And it happened. The big argument down there, they wanted an interference call on Keith Baker, but Terry Laney went and got the football.
Well, the two defensive backs were going after the ball. When you chase a quarterback down, like Ronnie said here, and you come back in that far of the field and throw it back across the field that far, anything can happen. And that time, he got it picked off on the interception because the ball's hanging up in the air. He really doesn't get anything on it and just hangs there, and everybody's reacting towards the ball. They're going after the ball. As you see, Keith Baker goes down, and that's what they were calling for the interference for.
Terry Lenny with the interception, and now the Ticats have the ball deep in Toronto territory, and Walter Bender gets a gain of about 9.
Terry Laney from the University of Saskatchewan in Saskatoon.
Is he a happy young man? He didn't expect to see much action today. He's primarily a backup in that secondary, but with the injury to Les Brown on the opening kickoff, he was moved into an inside halfback position and has played extremely well. J.C. Watt should not have thrown that pass.
No, I don't think you'll get very many people to say he should have. He was in trouble from the word go, and he scrambled out of there.
Hobart is in there, short yardage, and Kerrigan, excuse me. They sent the short yardage unit out there, but Kerrigan remained at the controls rather than Hobart.
I tell you what, Don, I remember this situation when I was playing in 1972 when you're coming back. As a quarterback like Kerrigan, to come off of a bad game when you get beat up so much, and to come into a situation like here where you have a chance to win. You get your second chance to get the Grey Cup because basically you got beat up the week before. So now you're very excited, and the opportunity doesn't present itself to get 2 chances at it, and he's making the most of it right now.
Well, Hobart's coming in now. They're about 2 inches short. Him and Hucklock are coming in. You can bet on who's carrying this football. What a time to throw, though, huh?
I was going to say, if you were in the game, I know there'd be a pass throw.
I'll tell you, If you love to gamble, this is the time.
It's amazing how this game has shifted with the Argos dominating that first quarter, and then the Ticats slowly but surely picking things up in the second, continuing on through the third, and now they have it rolling again in the fourth. Hobart keeps, he's got the first down. Well, the last time Al Bruno crossed us up by leaving Kerrigan in there in the short yardage offense. This time he wasn't about to take any chances with Ken Hobart going in and getting the first down.
Saw Al Bruno talking to Tony Champion going on the field. They got Cliff Hewitt down with an injury with the Argonauts. I think he was telling him what play he wanted run, so we'll see what happens. Usually John Salvanis, in conference with Mike Ferrigelli in the press box, they call the plays, but I think Al Bruno is calling this one.
Cliff Hewitt is the injured player. That means Donahue Grant will be coming into the ball game.
Yeah, what is that?
Again, we have another situation. The Tiger Cats are keeping the ball, keeping it away from that offense, and that offense is sitting over getting cold, getting 2 plays and out, and that creates a problem because you want to establish something with your drive, some consistency, run the ball, throw the ball, get things happening, and get some feel with your offense, and they can't do that right now with Hamilton controlling the ball as well as keeping it away from that offense.
First and 10 for the Ticats. They are at the Toronto 26-yard line. 12:57 is the time left to play. The total point series tied at 49. Kerrigan to Rocky DiPietro for a first down. What an excellent fake he made. He looked off to the right to Tony Champion and then just wheeled and drilled to Rocky DiPietro.
On that type of a pattern, a 3-step drop, the ball's supposed to be gone quick. So he had decided he was going to go to the right. So when he looked out there, he didn't like what he saw, and he turned and come back immediately. DiPietro was alone, and he makes the catch. That's throwing with confidence.
First and 10. The ball is at the 13-yard line. Handoff to Walter Bender, and Bender gets inside the 10, stopped by linebacker David Marshall. What a turnaround by this man, Mike Kerrigan, after being intercepted 4 times in the first game at Ivor Wynne, coming back, and he now has completed 29 passes here at CNE Stadium.
Well, when you come off the type of game he had last week, you want to establish your confidence. You can't wait to get to another game and make up for the type of play you had the previous week, and that's what he's doing this afternoon.
11:57 is the time remaining in this football game. It's 2nd and 6. Kerrigan drills it into the end zone, incomplete. Kerry Parker knocked it away from the intended receiver, Rocky DiPietro. As a matter of fact, I think he might have pulled it right out of his hands.
Boy, Kerry Parker gambled and won, and that's what you got to do as a corner. A guy that doesn't have the confidence in his abilities has a hard time playing there. Kerry Parker's been around. He saw what was developing. He went right to DiPietro, and as you say, I think he did take it out of his hands.
So for the first time, the Ticats have an opportunity to take the lead on a Paul Osbaldiston field goal from 18 yards out. It's good. And with 11:24 remaining, the Ticats lead 52-49. And we're looking forward to Grey Cup 86, and one of those 2 coaches will be looking forward to it as well. Will it be Bob Mobilovich or Al Bruno directing the attack of the Eastern champions a week from today? At the moment, Bruno has the edge. His team has fought back from first a 14-point deficit coming into this game. Then they fell behind by 26 points. But now they hold a 3-point lead. J.C. Watts on 1st and 10. Over the middle to Paul Pearson for a first down. Up to the 52-yard line, a gain of 16.
Well run pattern, Chuck.
That time, J.C. Watts got enough time to sit back there and let his offensive line do the protecting for him and read and get that ball down the field to Paul Pearson. He's got to get that much time to let that pattern develop and hit those receivers upfield.
That's right. He was ready to throw it, but he had Ben Zambiazzi. He had to wait till Pearson got past that linebacker to get to the open area.
From the shotgun again, J.C. Watts decides to run, gets a block on the far side of the field from William Miller, but is forced out of bounds by Robinson and Zambiazzi, the two linebackers.
One of the things they didn't want J.C. Watts to do is to escape to the inside of the defensive end. That time he read the hole and was able to get up inside there and pick up the first, 7 yards or close to a first down. You'll want to shut him down before he's able to cut back into that inside part of the hole.
I'll tell you what I liked about it. If I had Ben Zambiazzi and Frank Robinson waiting on me, I might have ran on out of bounds. He challenged them, but he's tough. He hasn't played that wishbone quarterback that many years and not be tough.
Second down play. Wide open is Paul Pearson. And he fought for extra yardage. It was finally Mark Streeter who drove him out of bounds.
Well, all year, Paul Pearson's been bothered by injuries. It hasn't been a great year for him. But you know what? When you're down 3 in the Eastern Final, there's no better time than to come up big. He's made 2 great catches. He found the hole. J.C. Watts found him. They thought he was going to throw short, but watch the effort right now. He bounces off of Bennett, takes a couple more hits, finally gets knocked out of bounds by Streeter, but what a big play. Pearson goes to the bench. Mike Soroshka comes in. He's only caught 2 this afternoon. Both have been on this drive. A 27-yard gain on that reception for a first down at the 24-yard line. The reverse with Chris Woods. Howard Fields was waiting for him.
That time they happened to be in the right coverage. Howard Fields was to the wide side of the field, and he just came up and played his position, looking for the reverse, and was able to make the tackle.
Ellis Rainsberger, the line coach of the Argos, talking to Bob Bobilovich and showing his displeasure with the way that play developed. Second and 9. Over the middle, complete to William Miller. Well, you can't ask for any better coverage. Leo Edrins at 6'4" on William Miller at 5'9", and that ball is thrown low and it hits William Miller right in the stomach. That is a well-thrown football.
Well, the point is, J.C. Watts is getting a lot of time, and when you do that, you can read as he's looking right up the field, and the linebackers have come up, and then there's no underneath coverage. Like you said, Ronnie, throw it right to his stomach there.
First and goal for the Argos from the 9 of Hamilton. From the shotgun. Watts getting the time. He'll run this ball. Oh, good tackle. Howard Fields came up to spill J.C. Watts, but Howard Fields is hurt. Well, he come up, throw that cross body block. Anytime you throw a block like that, you're going to get hit in the head, and he took one on the side of the head. J.C. Watts, you know, he might not be very tall, but he's still about 200 pounds. Well, they got Fields up, and apparently he's going to try and stay in there. Well, he's going to have to come out for a play, and you know what? I don't know who they put in there. With Les Brown out, they may have to go to Ed Gadavekis as a linebacker and play 4 deep people.
Well, they may have to go to Streeter on the corner because they don't have too many corners left.
Well, he's going to have to come out for one play. Streeter came over, tried to get him up on his feet. He tried to stay in there, but he had to go down on one knee finally, and he must come out for at least one play. Yeah, there's an old saying, don't get hurt because you're going to have to play anyway. Now, they know that they didn't have anybody on the bench. Now, you know who's going in? Yeah, Walter Bender. I'll tell you what, now, if I was a quarterback, I'd be looking for Walter Bender if I'm going to throw.
I got to find him.
Let's see what they do. They're going to put him at that halfback position and let him force, I would think. So Walter Bender has replaced Howard Fields in that secondary. On the corner. On the corner. It's second and goal from the shotgun. In the end zone, touchdown! Dave Pickman, Walter Bender. Well, you got to do it. Keith Baker grabbed the throw from J.C. Watts, and there are penalty flags in the end zone, and now some pushing and shoving taking place. Bob Obilovich was protesting that Paul Bennett had decked Baker after he made the catch.
Well, JC did just what Ronnie said, find who's in there, and they go right after Bender, and he just beat by Baker. Just that simple.
There was a penalty flag in the end zone. And there could be a rough play penalty assessed following the point after by Lance Chomick as the Argos are back in front with 7:35 left to play.
Well, J.C. Watt showed a lot of class with that drive.
And we'll be back with the Toronto kickoff right after this. 56-52, Toronto leading Hamilton, 7:35 is the time remaining.
Well, you see on the replay here, he just beats Bender by 5 yards into the end zone, and when he's back there, there's a little discussion going on between Bender and Bennett gets called for the roughing play. When these two teams get together, tempers fly when the emotions are close and the games are close.
The 15 yards tacked on the kickoff into the end zone. Walter Bender starts out from the end zone. I think he'd have been wise there to let it go, but perhaps not as he gets it out to the 27-yard line, but it's a 4-point spread. 1 point really doesn't make that much difference at this stage.
Yeah, you could have got it out to the 35, but, you know, maybe that ball wouldn't have gone out and they'd have had it conceded. But, you know, all good running backs think they're going to break it when they get their hands on it, and he's going to take a shot at it. They got good enough field position. Nothing wrong with that. That man, J.C. Watts, as I said, showed a lot of class.
I was waiting on you to break it in. He was so deep off of it.
Well, of course, J.C. Watts took advantage of Walter Bender going in there, replacing Howard Fields, and I was surprised that they put Bender on the corner, but they didn't zone up in that situation.
Boy, that was tough.
Steve Stapler makes the catch up to the 35-yard line, stopped by Kerry Parker.
Well, when you get a situation like that when Bender goes in the corner, you've got to find him, because that's the problem out there, covering a guy like Baker one-on-one out there. And that makes it tough. Sometimes, like you said, Don, you probably should go into a zone, even though you're close down there to your own end zone, which creates a problem. But you have a better chance in the zone than playing him one-on-one with somebody like Baker.
2nd and 2 for the Ticats at the 35-yard line. 6:47 is the time left to play. Kerrigan pulls it down, gets the pass away. Stapler makes the catch. First down up to the 45-yard line. Now let's go down to Steve Armitage.
Don, I talked to Howard Fields just a few moments ago. He had his bell rung. He said he will be back into the game as quickly as possible. He's up, he's walking around, he feels fine. He wants to get back into this game in a hurry.
Well, just ask him where he is. Bruce Bennett did that one time in Calgary. I asked him where he was. He said, Calgary. I said, how do you know? He said, it said so right there on the hillside. I said, you cheated.
First and 10 from the 45-yard line. Another completion to Steve Stapler up near the midfield stripe.
Boy, you have to be impressed with he's taking that long throw to the outside. You know, they always say that that's the hardest throw to make. It's the easiest to defend, but he's taken it. He's played with a lot of confidence today. And as Chuck said, after last week's game, he couldn't wait for today's game to start.
2nd and inches. Stapler has been on the receiving end of the majority of those long outs. Would you throw deep here?
No. Get that first down. You got to have it.
Kerrigan keeps inside the midfield stripe to the Toronto 54.
Now, the reason I said that, Don, see, I looked at the defense, and they kept Tripoli, Parker, and Brazeley deep. They're waiting for you to take that chance to throw the ball down the field. I'm sorry, Daryl Moyer. If they're waiting on you to throw deep there, if they're up there on the line of scrimmage wanting to stop the run, then you can take the chance.
4:50 is the time left to play. The Argos leading by 4 in this total point affair. Big edge for Hamilton in terms of first downs. Walter Bender gets a couple of blocks. He's got another first down for Hamilton.
Good play.
They like to show this action. Hamilton from what I understand, they tell me that anytime he goes in motion, you look for the sprint out. So what he does is come here and give the ball to Bender and pull the backside tackle and then just follow him. Follow Ralph Scholes. Here he comes, number 67. Get on his outside. Miles Burrell makes the block at the bottom of the screen, cut inside, and run. They like to stop that sprint out when they show early motion.
First and 10. The ball is at the 44 of the Argos. Walter Bender again. He stumbled, broke the tackle, and now keeps going for another first down.
Well, Walter Bender is just having an exceptional game for himself. I mean, he's finding holes and beginning to read outside. The hole was shut down a little bit, and he slid to the outside. He runs what we call a sprint draw, where he just sort of waits for the quarterback to bring in the ball and cuts back against the grain and is able to pick up the first down. Good running by Bender.
The key block on that particular play is made by the center, Marv Alamang, on the man on him. He reads him. Alamang blocks him to the right. You run to the left.
Hucklack is in. Bender, who has run for 86 yards, goes to the bench. 3:30 is the time left to play. Kerrigan may be forced to run this. No, he throws it. Nobody near the pass attempt. Tony Champion was the intended receiver, but he had slipped. And it will be 2nd and 10.
That's the difference between Kerrigan and Hobart. When he gets a situation where he possibly could take off and pick up 4 or 5 yards, he's still looking for a receiver to throw to, and he stops and throws it. Hobart in that situation, once he pulled that ball down, would have been gone and tried to run with it.
I really believe he wanted to throw that wide out to Steve Stapler again, but Carl Brazeley was just sitting there. He wisely didn't throw that one. Brazeley would have got it.
3:13 is the time left. 4 points, the Argos leading Hamilton. The pass is complete to Rocky DiPietro. First down as he fights to the 20. Stopped by Kerry Parker.
Good play. They came with a blitz that time in man coverage, and they just ran what looked like a pick pattern in the flat. DiPietro just runs to the flat, curls around, and comes back to the inside. And he just makes that turn against that defensive back and is able to pick up 5 more yards.
2:58 is the time left to play. It will be 1st and 10 from the 20 when we return. And it's come down to this. 2:58 is the time left. Toronto leads 56-52, and the Ticats have a first down at the Toronto 20-yard line.
Well, it's a nail-biting time for that man, Bobo Vilovich, who came into the game with a 14-point lead, and now he's in a situation where the game could go to the Hamilton Ticats in a 2-game total point.
Well, this has been a most exciting, entertaining afternoon. It simply doesn't get any better in that department. Both sides have been riding an emotional roller coaster here at CNE Stadium. 1st and 10 from the 20-yard line. Kerrigan is going to run the ball. A couple of good moves. He'll be close to a first down to the 11-yard strike.
Fear does wonders. Kerrigan's not a runner by any means, and he'd be the first to tell you that. But when he came out of there on that bootleg, he didn't like what he had, and he just took off. A little bootleg action. Now he comes back to the outside. His receivers are covered. He just put it down and started running. Good move, too. Pretty good move.
Ken Hobart comes in with that short yardage offense. It's 2nd and 1 from the 11-yard line. Hobart gets the first down. He's inside the 10. It will be 1st and goal with 2:21 left to play.
Well, this is what it's all about, isn't it? Coming down to the last 2 minutes of the ball game. And they have a 2-game series to decide a winner, and it's not decided yet.
Well, we can only hope that the Grey Cup next Sunday will be every bit as exciting, and we hope that you'll be joining us on CBC television for Grey Cup 86 from the stadium at BC Place. Will it be Hamilton or Toronto representing the East? 2:07, the time left to play. 1st and goal. There's the pass. It's complete to Tony Champion at the 5, make it the 6-yard line.
Well, I tell you, Mike Kerrigan has got an awful lot of confidence to be throwing that ball where he's throwing it, because there's some good close coverage for a 5-yard flat pattern that you're throwing out there. The ball has to travel a long way, and at that time, a defensive back can react up on it. But he's been successful so far this afternoon.
That was dangerous. There was 2 blue jerseys there, and they got it to the receiver.
Second and goal from the 6. Into the end zone. Touchdown! Ron Ingram!
Well, that's really a tough play for a defensive back when he's running it back, turn to the ball, and a quarterback like Kerrigan can throw the ball so nicely in there like that. That's a great play by Kerrigan, and touchdown for Kerrigan and the Hamilton Tiger Cats to put them ahead.
1:42 is the time remaining. Watch this throw again. Kerrigan to Ingram.
Go up and get it. I know Carl Brazeley's a little upset. I didn't see what he was upset about, but Mike Kerrigan shows you that he put it where he wanted it. But as Chuck said just earlier, he's been throwing with that kind of confidence all day.
Osbaldiston's convert is good. So with 1:42 remaining, Hamilton leads it by 3. Well, what about the possibility of overtime? Lance Tromick is certainly capable of putting it through. Fumbled by Dwight Edwards, but the Argos recover.
Well, the Argos needed the Argo bounce on that one, because if the Tiger Cats could have gotten that ball there, they were in real bad shape.
Mark Napolitan fell on that ball. Seen him get hit, it pops out. Here comes Mark Napolitan. He sees it, he recovers. What a big recovery at this stage of the game.
Well, what has Bob Obilovich called for what might be the final drive of the season for the Toronto Argonauts? We talk about teams sustaining drives. Both sides have in this fourth quarter. The Argos marked 75 for a touchdown. Hamilton 83. Chris Woods on the receiving end of the throw. He'll have a gain of 7.
Well, Chris Woods, once he catches that ball, don't fall back. Just get ahead and get as many yards as you can, because you've got Lance Tromick, who can kick a field goal from 45 yards. Get the ball down there where he can kick the ball.
Hey, they want to get close enough for a field goal.
The Argos trying to get their hurry-up offense into action. And they give it to William Miller. He'll get the first down.
Come on, Billy. Hey, come on.
Not a bad call at all, you know. When a team goes to a hurry-up offense, you automatically think pass. They came with William Miller inside and picked up the first down.
J.C. Watts operating without benefit of a huddle as the clock is running. Now 1:20 remaining. Good play as Lance Shields knocked it away from Chris Woods, who was sitting there waiting for the ball.
Yeah, I think they had the pattern call to the left side of the field, and J.C. Watts didn't like what he saw. So by the time he came back to Woods, Lance Shields had recovered, gets that right arm out, and bats it away. Woods was open.
Chris Woods and Lance Shields have had a real battle all afternoon from the shotgun formation. 1:13 left on the clock. Incomplete. Paul Pearson was the intended receiver. So the Argonaut season could come down to one more play.
You know, with 1:08 left and third down, you expect the Argonauts to throw to the outside, which they've done. But right now, to keep this drive alive, you've got to go right down the middle. That's where the hole is in the defense, because they're playing you to get out of bounds and stop the clock. You can't worry about the clock. You got to make a first down, so down the middle someplace.
From the shotgun. Pass complete to William Miller. He won't get the first down. Frank Robinson stopped him at the midfield strike.
Not the play to go to. You've got 10 yards to get. You've got to go upfield with that. You know that they're playing zone and they're laying back and they're going to react up to anything you throw short. So you've got to throw the ball down there a 10 or 15-yard pattern.
I agree, Chuck. That is not the play to call. I mean, even if you have to hold that ball as long as possible and get 10 yards. 3 yards, they're going to give you 3 yards anytime you want it on third down. You got to take the gamble. Hang on, get somebody open.
So now 1:03 is the time remaining. Al Bruno has walked 100 miles this afternoon, pacing back and forth.
He may walk another 100 the next minute.
Hand off to Walter Bender, and Bender will pick up a couple of yards. He's just making sure he hangs on to that football as he's wrapped up by Rodney Harding.
Well, you know what time? Slow as the quarterback is, let him roll around, roll out wide side. That'll kill off about a minute and a half. Get him outside and let him run around a while. But it doesn't matter, just kill some time.
Hey, put Hobart in, let him roll right, let him roll left, and just don't go out of bounds.
That's what he gave me.
Second down. Clock is running. Walter Bender to the 50-yard line. Well, the Ticats will be forced to kick it with 35 seconds left. The Argos will get another chance.
Well, Walter Bender is doing the right thing. They're giving him the ball, and he's just doubling up over it, covering it up, and able to run with it, not to make a fumble or make a mistake. Right now, the Argonauts have called a timeout, which will give them another chance with the ball with some time on the clock.
What we're going to do is go to Terry Lynn. I want to go great. They got to run out.
Today's Carling O'Keefe Game Stars will each receive a Royal Canadian Mint 1-ounce gold coin presented by Remington Products, makers of the 3M surgical clippers for hospitals and the microscreen rechargeable for you at home. Advanced shaving technology only from Remington. Well, the Argos stopped the clock with 35 seconds remaining. The Argos are showing an 11-man rush. Chris Woods is the lone man back for this Paul Osbaldiston third down kick from his own 45.
Now Hamilton calls time.
Well, there seemed to be some confusion there, and when there's confusion right now, you don't want to make any mistakes out there. You want to get that ball off and get that put downfield in case they have an opportunity to block it.
The thing Paul Osbaldiston has to remember now, it's not important that he kick a nice high spiral. Get that ball and get it over the line of scrimmage and hope it rolls in that direction. You don't care what it looks like now, just don't get it blocked.
You heard Bob Obilovich say, go after it.
That's all you can do.
Yep.
If they don't, they're, I don't like their chances. If they block this, they could be in field goal range. So there's no sense holding anything back now. You might put all 12 up there if you wanted to.
Well, Bob Obilovich can only pace at that Toronto bench. He has seen that 14-point lead that they entered the game with, and then a 26-point advantage disappear. Osbaldiston with a good kick. Not only did he get the kick away, he put it out of bounds down at the 13-yard line, and he was hit. But, well, is he going to be okay? I thought he was going to get up. He doesn't wear any other padding apart from the shoulder pads. So those kickers are many times vulnerable.
Well, he took a good shot there. I don't know whether he hit the ball or what, but he got his knee caught up there and still hanging in the air. And
Jeff Watson, who earlier was with the Hamilton Tiger Cats, is the man who hit him as he kicked that ball.
He was Hamilton's #1 draft choice last year. There was quite a few times this year Hamilton probably wished they had him back, with those injuries along the offensive line. But, hey, you got to go after the ball. That's all you can do. Now it's up to the Argonauts to move 100 yards.
Did I see just a trace of a smile on the countenance of Al Bruno a moment ago?
Maybe we're seeing things, Don. I don't really think he'd be smiling yet. In about another minute or two, he might be.
Well, each year for the past 3 years, I guess, the Ticats have started slowly, and there have been all sorts of rumors. When will Al Bruno be fired? The same this year when they were 1-5 at the start of the year. And they're now 28 seconds away from going to a third straight Grey Cup game. Swinging it out to William Miller. He's out of bounds with a gain of 8. 23 seconds is the time left.
Well, I don't know what Hamilton's playing defensively, but it's about time. I think they have to respect Chris Woods. I would send Chris Woods down the numbers on this side of the field and hope to get Paul Bennett cheating this way and try to hit Darrell Smith on the other side. They've got to get a big play. They can do those 8-yarders aren't going to get it for them now.
J.C. Watts is being chased around, using up a lot of time. To the sidelines to Paul Pearson. He steps out of bounds, but that play used up 12 seconds.
Well, not a smart play by JC because you don't want to use up that much time on the clock. He has to get that ball upfield and get it in within the 40-yard line downfield so they can kick a field goal. By running around like that, like you said, Don, he uses up a lot of time on that clock.
He's still minimum 30 yards away from a legitimate shot at a field goal, and he's going to have to get it on this play. He can't mess around getting 8 yards. It's no good. He's got to get 30 yards now to get one more play to kick the field goal.
59-56, the score in this total point affair. J.C. Watts throwing deep for Chris Woods. Interceptable. Brought down by Lance Shields.
It doesn't matter now with 3 seconds. The Hamilton Tiger Cats will have about 6 guys in deep zone, and they're going to give them anything they want because there's not going to be another play.
3 seconds, the time remaining.
Well, he had the idea. He threw it far enough, just a little too far.
It looked as though Shields had made the interception as he came down. I think Woods stripped him of the football.
Well, you know, if you watch these defensive alignment out here, you got the corners and linebackers lining up already 10 to 15 yards deep, and then you got your defensive backs, safeties, inside halfbacks, back another 20 yards. So they're back 50 yards before the ball's even snapped.
Dwight Edwards comes into the game as a receiver. J.C. Watts throwing it deep. There are 4 Hamilton players back there. The catch is made by Darrell Smith, but he's out of bounds. That's the ball game. And the Ticats have staged a remarkable comeback, erasing a 14-point deficit, and then recovering from 26 points down to win this total point series 59-56. And Al Bruno, you should hug quarterback Mike Kerrigan. He had a whale of a ball game and certainly a moment of redemption after his performance last Sunday.
Well, that's, we said there right at the end, he finally hit the long pass that he needed to get the field goal range, but with 3 seconds, that ball was in the air for 5, and by the time Darrell Smith caught it, it was over. Al Bruno, we heard him say just there at the end, let him catch the ball, no interference, and that was a key point to make.
An absolutely excited Hamilton Tiger Cat bench, dismay, dejection. On the other side of the field as the Toronto Argonauts head to their dressing room, and what a performance that man put on in leading the Ticats to a 3rd straight Grey Cup appearance. I think, as you may have been able to guess, our offensive choice quarterback Mike Kerrigan, defensively Mike Walker, 2 outstanding efforts. Congratulations, Mike, and good luck next Sunday in the Grey Cup game. What an unbelievable performance by the Ticats. You, Ron Lancaster, on a team that overcame a 26-point deficit way back in 1963. But in that first quarter today, it looked as though it was all over.
Well, they had so many chances to give up, When you lose Malinowski in warm-up and Les Brown goes down on the kickoff, then Brady, the other lineman, gets hurt, and the Argonauts score first. All indications say there's every chance to say, hey, it's not our day, but it didn't happen.
Chuck, your reaction?
Well, Mike Kerrigan, I tell you, outstanding game. I remember when I played that game in 72 in the playoffs, all you want to do is make up for the bad game that you had before, and he did that this afternoon.
Well, let's take a look at the touchdown that finally won it for the Hamilton Tiger Cats in this 2-game total point affair.
Well, Kerrigan straight back. This is it. Watch the catch. Ron Ingram. He told me before the game he thought he'd been forgotten, but they won't forget that catch.
Ron Ingram coming into the ball game with the game-winning catch in a 59-56 Hamilton Ticat win. Brian, back to you at CFL Control.
Our producer of the CFL on CBC is John Spaulding. Today's show produced by Lawrence Kimber. And our director, good job today, Ronnie Harrison. Our ISO director in from Ottawa for the game is Mo Waters. Our production assistants, Fausto Bellamini and company. Our crew, both technical and production. Our stats man, Eddie Milliken. These people have made the CFL on CBC all possible all season long. And just a reminder, Dave Naylor and Lee Herberman at the controls here in Toronto, we will have Grey Cup 86 right here live on CBC. Next Sunday, it will be the Hamilton Ticats against either British Columbia or the Edmonton Eskimos. The Grey Cup, CBC is the place to be. Talk to you next weekend from Vancouver.